for Jonathan Taylor. There he goes again. 50, 40, down the far sideline. He might do it again. 10, 5, touchdown. I-N-D-Y.
The Eastern Conference Championship has been captured by the Indiana Pacers.
Alex Pillow wins the 109th Indianapolis 500.
This is the Fan Morning Show with KB, JB, and Jeff.
They set the tone. Like that to me is the game right there. The way they set the tone. We had to be better shot makers. It just seemed like, and I don't know statistically, when they got offensive rebounds, they made us pay. When we got offensive rebounds, at times we made them pay in the second half. And it's different, right? You're down 10 to 20 points in the second half. And so you're trying to climb back in there. When you put yourself in that kind of hole, like you have to have more things go your way. You got to make more shots. You got to make more plays. These dudes ain't losing 4 games. We got 4 losses. They ain't losing 4 games. So that's just that. That's reality. When you've been in the league for over 25 years, that's reality. When you face up to people like that, that's why they're ranked the way they are. Because like you can be preseason number 1 in the country, that means nothing. But when you're in the middle of February and you're number 1 in the country, it means a whole lot because you earned that one. They earned that. They earned what they've gotten.
Always honest, always straightforward, always right on point. Matt Painter talking about his Purdue Boilermakers. Good morning, everyone. Welcome into the Fan Morning Show. It is a Wednesday. We've got a lot to talk about today, but let's go back to last night. Thank goodness for the early start. We appreciate that. Good morning, James Boyd. Good morning, Kevin Bowen. Good morning, Mark Dykton. Man, that blitz midway through the first half, James Boyd, by Michigan was impressive and unstoppable. And yes, Purdue played much better in the second half, and they fought, they scratched, they kind of made it a single-digit game at the very end, but that one was really never in doubt, and Michigan was impressive last night.
They were. I thought they gave themselves a ton of extra possessions on the glass, and the stat I kept thinking about, Kevin, was the one you threw out yesterday, I believe, about all the double-digit victories that they've had. And, it didn't really matter, I guess, at the end. But, the little foul game at the end, I wonder if they'll get to the 10-point threshold there. But, yeah, that first half, they looked like a different team in a different stratosphere as far as Purdue is concerned. And I thought that Braden Smith had an overall pretty good floor game, but I thought that he had to be more efficient scoring the basketball, as is some of his teammates as well, because if you're not, that team will bury you. And honestly, Kevin, they don't really leave much room for error when it comes to any type of, deficiencies in their armor.
Yeah, I would say I can't recall the last time I've ever seen length bother Purdue at that level. Usually it's Purdue doing it to the other team. It's
little
Purdue's
JV
length.
varsity action right there.
Yeah, I guess you could say that, but it just Trey Kaufman-Renn had 27 and 12, and yet I feel like in the first half he was just incredibly inefficient. And I don't know, maybe I shouldn't say that. Maybe that's like, hey, if you're really going to be critical of him, Oscar Clough and Daniel Jacobson, I thought really struggled as well. And then the other overwhelming thought I had just watching the game is I'd be stunned if Michigan is not playing here in April. I just, to James's point, there's a reason why I felt the need to read off, all of that yesterday and how truly dominant they've been. They went into one of the most hostile places in college basketball, and for 30 minutes they led by double digits. Just thoroughly impressive with what they do, thoroughly impressive with their depth. Their bench guys come in and hit big shot after big shot after big shot. So yeah, those are probably the two big things of, Purdue, a little bit of their own medicine, almost like in recent years with how much length bothered them, whereas it's usually their length bothering others. And then, holy bleep, Michigan is really, really freaking good.
The Michigan team I watched last night is as good as Arizona, as good as Connecticut.
No, they are better than those teams. They are the best team in college basketball.
Yeah, number 1 for a reason.
So here's my point. When I look at what they did last night, every year in college basketball, in the middle of February, late February, you see teams truly become who they are. Occasionally you get a team that'll get on a run in March. But for the most part, the really great teams start to put it together right now. Michigan on the road at Purdue in Mackey on a night when they got Robbie Hummel bobblehead night, Zach Edey in attendance, and Coach Kitty was there. Everything was set up for Purdue coming off a road win over Nebraska to get it going, and they just throttled Purdue in the first half. That, to me, looked like the clear number one best team in the country at this point in time.
Yeah, you know what stood out to me as well was the three-point shooting that they had, the balance they had overall offensively as well. I mean, I'm looking at the stats from last night, and anytime you shoot 13 for 23 from the three-point line.
I think it's their second best three-point night of the year.
I mean, that team, you need some things to break your way when you're matched up against them. You know, miss a few shots they usually probably make or something like that. But when they're shooting that efficiently, it is very hard to beat them. And again, the balance. I mean, across the board, it wasn't like they had – one guy. For example, when Illinois won at Mackey, and I'm not saying this because I'm the Illinois guy, but Keaton Wagler went off and had like one of the greatest individual performances you've ever seen in that arena. This was not that. This was a bunch of guys, sharing the basketball and all of them doing their little part to continue to just put pressure on Purdue to play perfect. And we saw when you don't play perfect, when you turn the ball over, when you miss shots, when you don't offensive rebound, when you don't defensive rebound and you're not able to crash the glass, that usually, at least in that first half, led to them being down by quite a bit. And, did any of us feel like there was a comeback there for that team? I kept watching, but there was no part of me that thought, they'll come all the way back and win this. I know they got it maybe to about 12 and about 10, but even late, they might have cut it to 8 or something, but it was with less than a minute to go. And at that point, you're probably thinking of the bettors more than anything.
I thought the point at which there was no return, nice steal, forced turnover by Braden Smith, 5-6 minutes to go in the game, and he gets it back to Fletcher Lawyer, who takes like a 30-foot three and airballs it. It kind of felt like that was the end at that point in time, didn't it?
Yeah, it's a tough game, and you needed more from your other guys is what I thought. TJ Cox only got a few shots up, 4 shots, but didn't have a huge impact in that game. And like I said, Braden Smith, 20 points and 6 assists, but the 3 turnovers, what is that, a 2-to-1 ratio? That's usually not where he's at. And then 4 of 13 from the field, that's usually not where he's at either. And again, I don't want to nitpick him too much, one of the best players in the country. But again, that margin for error just isn't as great as it used to be when you had, big Zach Edey on your team a few years ago.
Where do they go from here? Is it just they ran into the best team in the country last night and they still pick themselves up and could make a nice run in March? Or what happens next for Purdue?
Yeah, I don't think you need to overreact too much to clearly the best team in college basketball this season coming into your building and beating you. Obviously what it means is you are not going to win the Big Ten. I don't know if we needed necessarily to see last night play out to confirm that, but that is clear. And you're probably very likely not a number 1 seed. So, those are probably the 2 big takeaways from last night of, whatever run that you need to get on to get to Indy, it's probably going to have to come from the 3 or the 2 line. And that means you're going to have to see a Michigan, a UConn, a, Houston, whoever out of the Big 12, a Duke, somebody like that. You're going to have to see them to get here to Indy. So that's what it means. There's just I don't think there's a team like Michigan in college basketball, just to put it simply. So I don't want to. I think we can get really, really like, hey, what does this mean for the season? It's one game. Show me Michigan because I haven't seen them this year.
That was as good a basketball team as I've seen play, and we've watched some really good basketball teams throughout the course of this season. It's been top-heavy. I don't know if you want to call it top-heavy. When you're talking about Arizona, when you're talking about Connecticut, when you see what Michigan certainly did last night and throwing a few other teams in there, it'll be a terrific tournament. But right now, man, it's hard to imagine somebody matching up with that front line. And if Elliot Cadeau plays, Kevin, the way that he played last night for the rest of the season, that's a really, really where's the weakness at that point in time? Where do you go get him?
You go in hockey sweater again?
I did. Blue today.
Are you sure the game is
Blue.
today?
At 3:10. I was excited and fired up for the knockout round yesterday, and I looked at the Team USA, and I thought it was today, and then I looked and I thought, no, it is today. Yes, speaking yesterday morning, and I got myself confused, as I do these days. So there you go.
Why did the U.S. get such a tough draw? I feel like Sweden in the quarterfinals is not necessarily...
No, because Sweden lost their group. is what happened. It screwed everything
Didn't
up.
we win our group? Shouldn't we have an easier draw?
Canada's the number 1 seed. We were the number 2. Sweden should have been the number 3 seed, but they dropped.
Got it.
So that's kind of what happened there. But Sweden won 5-1 in their game yesterday. Canada is going to be playing a little bit later on this morning, right after we get off the air at 10:40 today. And so if you are looking for something to do and you don't want to go to work, there's a lot of good hockey on TV today, James. That's all I'll tell you right now.
I would encourage you to go to work if you need to go to work. Multitask if you can.
And you got a toothache, don't you, Kevin? Don't you get a toothache every once in a while?
Boy, can't say last time I've had a toothache. No, knock on wood here.
So I did appreciate the 6:30 start last night. I also appreciate Noah Eagle and Robbie Hummel. I love listening to those guys.
Yeah, two of
do
the
a
best in the game,
terrific
for
job.
sure. Great tandem, but again, the overall game itself, boy, that's like, seeing what good is and then seeing what great is, and Michigan is a great team.
Yeah. Big night for Kaufman-Renn. Before we move on here, I wanted to get your thoughts on, you had talked about being fairly inefficient. He racked up the numbers at 27-12, but there were times in the first half where it looked like he was the only guy that really belonged on the floor with Michigan for about a 5 or 10 minute stretch there.
Yeah, I mean, his effort was tremendous. But yeah, in that first half, you got Braden Smith scoreless in the first half. I thought in general, Kaufman-Renn and some of the other guys as well, Clough and Jacobson, they just struggled to finish through length. And that set the tone. I mean, when you're down 16 at halftime, it's over. I mean, you can make these fake runs in the second half of, God bless the Purdue fans. They were erupting when they would cut the lead to 12 and 11. They're just hoping and praying and, pleading to get it to single digits to try and make it interesting. And Michigan answered every single time. So, Clough had the one moment there of the steal and the layup. Boom. They come down the other end. McKinney, the freshman, hits a three. It just, every time Michigan needed to make a play. Again, even when the score was, 3 possessions, 4 possessions, Michigan did it.
All right, we'll get to the rest of the check down coming up in just a moment. Good morning, Mark Dykton. How are you doing this morning? You good?
I threw up on the side of the highway. That was a way to start a morning.
Are you looking to play? Are you looking to watch some hockey and not go to work today later on, or what's going on there?
Well, I'm at work now, so
Okay.
yeah, I'm going to power through and then, probably lay on my couch the rest of the day.
You all right, though? We need to call Caleb? You good?
No, I'm good.
All
It's
right.
just one of those things where you woke up with a headache. I'm like, this ain't going to go well.
All right. Well, I hope
So
you feel,
somebody got a whiff of what I was putting out there this morning.
I hope you feel better as the morning goes
We don't
along.
need you to flu game it. We can.
Yeah.
No, I can handle it.
All right.
Gosh, dude. Oh, man.
All right. So we'll.
If you see me run out of here, though, that's probably what I'm doing.
All right. We'll talk to you in a few minutes, and if you're feeling tough, let us know. But otherwise, we hope you feel better, and we'll do the check down in a moment.
Mark, suck it up.
I'm with you, James.
Checkdown. Brought to you by the Barbasol Horizon League Basketball Championships. March starts here. The Barbasol Horizon League Basketball Championships with NCAA tournament bids on the line. March 8th through 10th. Tickets and more at horizonleague.com/Indy.
All right, big game last night up at Mackey. It was a 6:30 start. We liked the early start, but Michigan was ready to go. They burst out to a 20-point lead a couple of times in that first half. Held on to beat Purdue 91-80. Never really got less than 9 points down the stretch. Morez Johnson and Ade Mara both had 11 rebounds each, inside playing well. Yaxel Lindenborg had 13 points, 7 assists. Elliot Cadeau had 17 points, 7 assists. Trey Kaufman-Renn had 27 and 12. Braden Smith had 20 points, but all of them in the second half. And Matt Painter said Michigan came ready to play early.
They set the tone. Like that to me is the game right there. The way they set the tone, we had to be better shot makers. It just seemed like, and I don't know statistically, when they got offensive rebounds, they made us pay. When we got offensive rebounds, at times we made them pay in the second half. And it's different, right? You're down 10 to 20 points in the second half, and so you're trying to climb back in there. When you put yourself in that kind of hole, like, you have to have more things go your way. You got to make more shots. You got to make more plays.
So that was that snaps a 4-game winning streak for Purdue. Michigan now 9-0 on the road, and Kevin Bowen, they shot 57% from three-point range, 13 of 23.
Their second best three-point shooting night of the season. I know I went over these numbers yesterday, but just to reiterate, you mentioned the undefeated mark at home in the Big Ten, now 8-0. 7 of those 8 wins by double digits. So, I mean, it's just overwhelming how dominant they have been, and I don't say that word lightly at all. I just thought Purdue was incredibly bothered by their length. You know, that was the story of the game for me, especially early on. Like, Purdue got a couple fouls in the first few minutes trying to rebound. I can't imagine the last time we've seen, that, and due to having to try and rebound up against that size there. So, it's quite impressive what Dusty May has built. A few holdovers from that Sweet 16 team from last year, but it's a lot of transfers. And in 1 year, that looks like a pretty cohesive group to me.
Yeah, and James, with 4:17 to go in the first half, I had looked it up because it seemed like everything was going Michigan's way. At that point, they were 8 of 16 from three-point range. They had out-rebounded Purdue 17-10, but it seemed like they kept getting offensive rebounds and getting second chances and hitting threes off those second chances.
Yeah, they're just a better team. And when you can create extra possessions for yourself, like Michigan often does on the glass, that leads to good things.
All right, Indiana will host Purdue on Friday. Later on tonight, Butler plays at Georgetown, 6:30 tip, 6 o'clock pregame here at 93.5, 107.5 The Fan. You can watch it on Fox Sports 1. One note, Kevin, from Butler, freshman Jack McCaffrey is going to redshirt, another lost player for Butler this year. Got an infection after having his wisdom teeth pulled out a couple of weeks ago, and lost 15 pounds, Coach said, and just has not been able to get back on track. So that's another body that they don't have available this year.
Yeah, and when's the last time he's played a game? December, November? Yeah. I mean, he's been street close all year. Finley Bizjack will be the one to watch for tonight. Sounded like he was close to giving it a go the other night against Seton Hall, second leading scorer in the Big East. Absolute must for Butler to have him on the road. This losing streak started against Georgetown a few weeks back, and they'll be in the nation's capital tonight.
All right, yesterday, Pacers' Rick Carlisle met with the media for the first time after the All-Star break. He was asked about the team being fined $100,000 for tanking, for lack of a better word. His quote, "I have no idea and really no comment on it." He also said, "We're going to manage our situation the way we need to do it the rest of the way," James.
Yeah, he elaborated a little bit further with the beat writers. Shout out to Dustin DePierac of Indy Star. We can read that statement here in a bit. But he expanded a little bit about how he feels about it, but not much.
All right, so the Pacers are off for a couple of days yet. And then in high school basketball, busy night last night. James, did you see DeJon Hall of Crispus Attucks drop 52 in a win over his former team, Hindley, 81-62 for the Tigers last night?
Did not see that, but yeah, anytime you can get a 50 ball in high school, 32-minute game, lets me know how talented you are, so shout out to him. And you're doing it at a school with a rich basketball history.
Some of the other scores from last night, Roncalli beat Cecina 69-52. Brebeuf has won 6 straight. They got a win over Heritage Christian last night. Westfield beat University. Triton Central got a win over Monrovia 45-34. I think they're 17-3 now. They're playing well. And Pike beat Lawrence Central. USA Hockey in Sweden, knockout round in the quarterfinals today, Kevin, at 3:10. Canada versus Czechia is one of the other quarterfinals. That one will be played at 10:40 this morning. Medals up for grabs today in women's snowboard slopestyle, men's short track speed skating in the 500 meters. Yesterday, the USA got a silver medal in the men's cross-country team sprint, and Mac Foran got a silver in the free ski big air. But I loved his quote after that one where he basically said it was in the middle of snow, and he says, "I'm just happy to get out of here alive," basically, to kind of tell you what he was saying there. So that's what's happening in the world of sports. Anything else you guys want to throw in from yesterday, Kevin?
Yeah, shout out to the Miami, Ohio Redhawks. They got another one last night, so they are now 26-0. They won at UMass. Some people thought this would be their toughest regular season game left. They've got 5 to go. Pete Suter, the Carmel product, was their leading scorer last night. So the storyline continues over there in Oxford, if indeed they could be undefeated here entering the MAC tournament. So 5 more to go for Travis Steele and company.
KB, have you seen like the graphics they've done for every win that they have? They have 26 and then dash OH, which I think is pretty cool. 26-0.
Very good.
Very good. Also last night, Ohio beat Ball State 69-57. Been a rough year for the Cardinals. They are just 8-18. All right, coming up in a minute, we'll talk more about the NBA and its handling of the Indiana Pacers, what to look forward to second half of the season. More on Purdue and Michigan last night as well. We'll get to some of your comments at 239-1070 on the text line. You can call us up, talk about it too, 239-1070. It's all straight ahead on a busy morning here at 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
We Grow Hair Indy. They are the best in the business, the gold standard for Hair Restoration, located northwest side up there at the Pyramids, building number 2. Great office up there. And at the very least, you owe it to yourself to get questions and answers to the curiosity that you have had. WeGrowHairIndy.com is a website. Free evaluation awaits, private evaluation awaits, virtual evaluation, all of that available to you at the gold standard for hair restoration. One of the questions I had was, okay, what would the recovery process look like? Did have to sleep a bit upright for about 3 or 4 days. That was uncomfortable, to be honest with you. But outside of that, that was it. Back at work on a Monday, had it done on a Friday. Actually took a vacation with some buddies that next weekend. So very little for me from a recovery standpoint, which was something that I was definitely concerned about. So again, those are some of the questions that I had. You might have others, and that's why you contact them. The free evaluation, the virtual evaluation, the private evaluation, the gold standard for hair restoration. It is We Grow Hair Indy.
Listening to the Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
There you go, Mark Dankton. It's like Club Morning Show this morning. I dig that. How you doing? You hanging in there, buddy? You're a gamer. You've been called a gamer on the text line. Gotta like that. Mark playing a little hurt today.
Mark, puke and rally, baby. I can't speak from experience because I don't drink, but I heard it a lot in college, and it seemed to work well with my friends.
Kevin, I was checking the text line. There are a lot of people that are fans of Indiana basketball looking longingly at Dusty May coaching Michigan last night. So that in some cases, for example, Joe says with sarcasm, after watching Michigan beat down Purdue last night, I'm sure glad IU kept Woody that extra year and not go after Dusty May.
Yeah, what's the thought there? A lot of the Board of Trustees hanging on to Woody, one of their own. Maybe
I just remember that
Quinn
there was
Buckner element to it.
Yeah, I remember that there were always rumblings for fans mostly about, man, they should go after Dusty May. They should go get that. And now Dusty May has rebuilt Michigan into a monster at this point in time, and they look like they are headed to the Final Four. Looks like we'll be seeing them in late March, early April here in Indianapolis is what it looks like.
Yeah, that there to me is no doubt who the number one team is in college basketball right now. Just dominant. But yeah, can you imagine Scott Dolson pulling off and again, I don't know how much say he maybe had on Mike Woodson getting a fourth year. Can you imagine Kurt Cignetti and Dusty May in Bloomington?
I'm sure there are a lot of folks wearing red and white. Scotty's got his IU hat and sweatshirt on this morning. I'm sure he can imagine that quite well. Yesterday, Rick Carlisle met with the media to talk about a number of different things over the practice facility as they get ready to start the second half of the season, coming off that $100,000 fine for tanking, and we had talked about that a little bit yesterday. And for the most part, in his comments initially, he had said, for lack of a better phrase, just no comment, not worried about it. But then you mentioned, James, that he elaborated a little bit later on with some of the beat reporters on what the rest of the season and what that situation looked like.
Yeah, shout out to Dustin DePierre, Tony East, the two guys on the ground every day with that team. And here is the statement that he later gave after practice to those guys. I'm so proud of the way that our players, organization, and fans have approached an extraordinarily challenging season. We have been very consistent with how we have approached everything this year, and the NBA is aware of that. Communication with the league office has been productive. We will move forward with the same emphasis on competitiveness and development that I talked about on Media Day, September 29, 2025.
I also saw that he had talked a little bit about Zubats and Toppin and when they might get back, and he basically said they're progressing slowly but steadily, but doesn't foresee anything immediate in their futures, is what it sounded like yesterday.
Yeah, and at this point, I kind of view it as, okay, how well can you prove that to the NBA? Because you're going to be under the microscope. I would say every team is, but especially you because of the fine. And as long as you can prove that, and I'm not saying that they're lying. I mean, I am team, do whatever you can to get the best pick. But just knowing that you're going to have that extra spotlight, make sure you're, dot the I's and cross the T's.
Kevin, did you see Mark Cuban talking about tanking yesterday, saying, yeah, we did it once or twice in Dallas, and the fans appreciate that?
Yeah, I thought Cuban had some interesting comments in regards to it. And, I saw Kevin Pritchard actually engaged him a little bit on Twitter and was kind of responding to some Pacers fans going back and forth in regards to tanking. And, I think we're in a unique NBA market in that I believe, for the most part, Pacers fans fully understand why the Pacers are doing what they're doing this season.
Right.
Their star player tore his Achilles. They had a slew of injuries at the start of the year. They have tanked, I say that in quotes, very little in their recent NBA history, or history probably is a better way to put it. They're not like some of these other teams that you've seen do it on a more frequent basis. Sure.
Philly.
And so I think Pacers fans have a pretty good grasp of why they're handling things in the manner that they are. So I don't know if they're necessarily the best case to kind of point out there. I thought Cuban had a couple interesting points. And again, I don't know, maybe I should vet Dallas a little bit, but he mentioned during some of the seasons that they did tank. He said at one point they were having like $2 tickets for sale. He said they actually had to stop that because the secondary ticket market would take the $2 tickets and then scalp them, which I guess is probably smart business by the secondary ticket market. But he said at one point, I think he said the number was 4,000 tickets for each game. At least 4,000 tickets were offered at $19 or less. So, because that is the aspect of what we mentioned yesterday. I said to you guys, hey, if you had tickets to 5 games the rest of the season, what would you want to see? And, is this something we see NBA teams start to do? Or is this La La Land? I guess I believe Cuban. I don't think he would openly lie, but granted, it is Twitter. So you never fully know there. But, I think most fans sit there and say, the league said the best chance to get elite talent is to lose. Increase your lottery odds.
Yeah. And
you have to play the NBA's game. And that's to lose, because sports purgatory, as I say quite often, is not sports purgatory. It's sports hell. Purgatory is not going to get you. You are not getting out of that easily. I would argue it's easier to stay in it, i.e. look at the NFL team on the northwest side of Indianapolis. And so the Pacers are playing the game.
I would say this, too. When I heard Adam Silver over the weekend talk about tanking and the fan impact, it was almost a bit insulting, in my opinion, for him to not acknowledge that fans do indeed want their teams to lose in certain scenarios. Like, he was saying, hey, we got to be making sure like we put a good product out on the floor for those who pay money for tickets and for those investing in our league. And I get all of that, but you can't tell me that it's that hard to understand from a big picture perspective. And I would appreciated him just acknowledging that part of it. Because trying to stick your head in the sand and say, oh, man, we just got to put the best players out there and, compete 48 minutes and play our hardest, that's not reality. And again, I think the Pacers have been, if you want to call the word admirable, I think it was honestly naive for a long time to not just be bad for a year or two to figure it out and then to pivot. I think when you look at it now, like all the like pearl clutching over how it looks and the ethics behind it, I don't care. I don't care how unethical it looks. I don't care if you're bending the rules to your favor. Do whatever you got to do to get better. Because the part that Adam Silver just didn't mention was, okay, fans are willing to be terrible this year, at least here in Indiana, to be better over the next 10 years. So that's what you're sacrificing, in my opinion. I mean, no one's mad at the Mavericks for not getting into the play-in tournament last year and landing the number 1 pick and then drafting Cooper Flagg. So why should the Pacers care about, short-term, I guess, success versus the long-term, bigger success of getting back to the playoffs next year?
One thing Cuban got into that I thought was interesting, and it was a little bit in the weeds, but we've seen this new, hey, these are the luxury tax penalties. This is the first apron. This is the second apron. He mentioned it's now going to become harder for NBA teams to have multiple guys on max contracts.
Oh, yes.
And retain them and still build a team around them. So based off that, he said there will be more of a rush to find the rookie contract star. And so I think that is what is contributing to some of this as well. In maybe the previous era, before we've had these new aprons in here, you could do what the Warriors did, for example. You could do a little bit more of what Miami did. Yeah. Like, it was very, I don't say easy, but if you're willing to take on some of that money, you could do that. Whereas now it's going to be a little bit more difficult. I think Milwaukee is an example of it right now. They clearly have struggled to try and find other talent around Giannis. And so I did think that aspect was an interesting one. I also thought Kevin Pritchard, he chimed in and said that he remembers his first NBA game watching Don Bosey and I forget who the other ABA player was, like Billy Keller or somebody else, and mentioned that, that was kind of a core memory that he had. He didn't realize, or he doesn't recall who won the game, but he remembers being there and seeing, I think it was Billy Knight, now that I think about it, seeing them, playing. And I found that particularly interesting because that's kind of what Pritchard is fighting right now. Like, is it Kevin Pritchard's job to build a winner or appease the crowd? Because, like, his first NBA memory is going to a game and watching these guys play. So, Jeff, if you take your two sons to a game and all of a sudden they go out there and they're like, oh, wow, why are all those dudes wearing clothes and not wearing uniforms on the sideline?
Yeah.
Does that matter at all? I don't. Again, I think his job is to build the championship team more than it is necessarily to have whatever, all the guys out there playing 78 nights out of the year. It's just a bummer that you have to weigh part of that. But again, that's the reality of how the NBA has made things.
I can kind of lean into that because my dad was really good about taking my brother and I to ABA games back in Denver when we were growing up. And so I got to watch the Kentucky Colonels and the Indiana Pacers and the Denver Rockets before they became the Nuggets and the New Jersey Nets at the time, the Virginia Squires and all those teams. And I don't remember specific scores to games, Kevin, to his point, but I remember being able to watch Dr. J. I remember being able to watch Don Bosey. I remember being able to watch Artis Gilmore. I remember those things. So, yeah, those are core memories of being at that old arena with my dad and my brother and watching the old ABA. And let me tell you something, James. For a kid, that red, white, and blue ball was fire. That was fire, that red, white, and blue ball. Cuban kind of talked about this, too, in another post where he said, when I got into the NBA, they thought they were in the basketball business. They aren't. They're in the business of creating experiences for fans. Few can remember the score from the last game they saw or went to. They can't remember the dunks, the shots. What they remember is who they were with, their family, friends, a date. That's what makes the experience special. Fans know their team can't win every game. They know only one team can win a ring. What fans that care about their team's record want is hope. Hope they will get better and have a chance to compete for the playoffs and then maybe a ring. He says tanking at the end isn't the issue. Affordability and quality of game presentation are, and you're going to have tanking under the current system the way it exists. There's no way around it.
Yeah, it goes back to a point that I think Mark has made eloquently over the last few weeks here on the show. I do agree with the part about the affordability of the games and the experience and accessibility. Because again, when I hear Adam Silver get on a stage and tell me, oh, we're working on AI technology to make the game hyper personal from your viewing experience, I don't care. How about you allow me to watch my local teams on local TV? Start there. How about, this is no disrespect to the FanDuel people who work there. Obviously I love Chris Neary and Quinn Buckner, smothered chicken, and other things of that nature. But, how about you make sure the app works? Do things like that, more practical things from the NBA, because to me, there's when I hear Adam Silver talk, it's all about the tech and the business world and how to advance things that we don't really care about. Every year they have that tech summit at All-Star Weekend, and they show us these things on this big stage. And I'm like, one, I don't even remember what you showed me last year. Don't care. Number two, can you, at least if you want to grow the fan base, especially amid some of the things that we're seeing right now with tanking, then don't punish us by having to pay to see the bad basketball. I mean, my goodness, can I just turn the TV on? Because now, what is it? It's Prime. It's, even for college basketball, it's Peacock. You got to use all these different platforms and streams just to watch the game. And what's crazy is I'm 30, but I didn't grow up like that. I mean, when I grew up in the Chicago area, you could turn on the local TV and watch your team. So I think that's a bigger problem from the NBA. I know I'm on my little soapbox here, but that to me irritates me when I hear him talk about anything else other than how can we watch the games and afford the games? Because I'll say it, I'm very privileged to be in the media. I've been to a lot of great games over the years, but I ain't paying. So when people tell me, oh, I didn't have a chance to experience this because the prices were too crazy, I can empathize with that.
What do you think the Pacers do the next two nights?
Meaning, from a roster standpoint,
Correct.
Who's available?
Who plays? Thursday, Friday, back-to-back, Washington, right there with them in the tank standings.
I think your normal guys play besides Zubac or the guys who you say have
also on
injuries.
Friday, the second night of a back-to-back?
I think so. I really do, Kevin.
Because of the fine?
Yes, because of the fine and because of the way the league kind of phrased how they're supposed to approach the player participation policy. For example, in the statement they put out previously, it was, well, you can rest or you could play reduced minutes or do these other things against a different opponent. And again, I would love to, see some of the correspondence between Carlisle and the league. I'm sure it probably wasn't all that, safe for radio, but what does that exactly mean? And are they basically telling them you can't rest guys against really bad teams that are vying for that top draft pick like you are?
Yeah, it was funny. Before Rick released that statement to the beat writers, he said yesterday after practice something to the effect of, we're going to manage our situation the way we need to. That, to me, did not sound like someone that's committed to playing guys all of a sudden on the second night of a back-to-back. Maybe I'm reading too much into it, but that didn't sound necessarily like that to me. When he uses the word development, is development just playing young dudes? Or is there any sort of thought of we do need to see Zubac at some point? Again, Rick did make it clear yesterday, Zubac and Obi Toppin, for what it's worth, will not be playing anytime soon. But again, we got 27 left. What does that mean? Does that mean 10 more and then they play a little bit? We're just going off of these words and then, a canned statement after practice. I didn't get the feeling that all of a sudden we're going to see an overwhelming change in how they've gone about their business. I think he used the word consistent. They have been consistent. Those guys have sat pretty much on the second nights of back-to-back. But then, of course, there's part of me that's like, well, you've already been punished once. You'd be foolish to continue to operate in the same manner if the NBA is really going to bring the hammer down even more, which, that remains to be seen.
And again, $500,000 for Utah that has been kind of egregiously tanking, and then the Pacers got $100,000. I thought more than anything, just kind of like a little slap on the wrist.
Well, again, Utah
get
had
your
been
attention.
fined previously.
Yeah.
So I think that's worth noting as well. Is there some sort of second, third offense situation that we're getting into here? So, again, tomorrow night in Washington, D.C., and again on Friday, and these are the games you want to lose, frankly. I mean, these are the games that matter more. Early on they play, I think these first 6 games back, I want to say 4 of them are against teams right there in the tank standings with you, and you want to lose those games flat out if you want to increase your lottery odds.
All right, so we'll keep an eye on that. Again, the Pacers return to action after the All-Star break, back-to-back games on the road against Washington Thursday and Friday night. As always, you'll listen to them live right here at 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. While we're talking basketball, we mentioned the ABA just a moment ago. I did want to take a quick minute for all the folks like me that grew up around the ABA and knew of their players, and then later on in the NBA when the ABA switched over. Doug Moe passed away yesterday. He was a friend of mine. He and I worked together at the same radio station for about 4 different years. After one of the times, really the last time that he'd gotten fired, we used to joke with him, James, that he was actually getting paid by the Nuggets, the Spurs, and the Sixers all at the same time at the very end there. But he was a revolutionary coach that did some freestyle, great things offensively. But what a character. Like, we talk about the game and sports don't really have characters anymore. Doug Moe was a character. He was a guy, he referred to himself as a big stiff. He would say, "You're a no-hoper. You're a paper tissue athlete. That guy can't play dead." He'd talk about guys that he didn't like the way that they were playing, but he was gregarious and he was a popular guy, and he had been wrongly accused in college of being part of a gambling conspiracy, which later on he was completely exonerated for. Because of that, he had to go overseas and play in Europe, and he was not allowed to play in the NBA. So he came back over, played at the ABA, later on coached in the NBA when it was all clear for him. But I just wanted to point out, anybody who knows of the old ABA and the early days of ABA teams going to the NBA, they know about Doug Moe, and they don't make characters like that anymore, James. Just old school, fun guy, larger than life, big dude, about 6'6", had his beloved wife, Big Jane, he called her, by his side at the end. And I can remember even back in the time when we were working together, it seemed like every weekend he was off to Vegas at Caesar's Palace to spend a big 3-day weekend there. And I just wanted to say, for all those who recognize the name and know him, rest in peace, Doug Moe. He was just a tremendous guy to be around. A lot of fun.
Are you saying Mick Cronin is not Doug Moe?
Mick Cronin is not Doug Moe. Mick Cronin, for those who missed it overnight, James, you saw this. He ejected his own player out of a basketball game against Michigan State last night as he was coaching UCLA.
Yeah, he's wild. I'm just waiting for the update of when he's fired, honestly. Like, what? I don't know anything about UCLA basketball besides them being bad and him throwing tantrums.
So he had a player that you could say it was a little bit of a hard foul. He was trying to stop a guy from scoring a dunk or a layup, and there was collision, and the offensive player fell down. But Mick just, I thought, overreacted and literally told this guy to get off the court and go to the locker room. We're not going to accept that. It didn't look like a particularly dirty play to me when I watched it back. Did you think, James?
No, I think that Mick Cronin is a wild coach, and I'll say that mildly, but yeah, I don't see how anybody would want to play for him.
He seems genuinely miserable all the time when you hear him in press conferences or even before games when he's talking to the media sometimes. And I don't know, did you ever run into him when he was at Cincinnati or over in that area?
Can't say I have, but boy, he's wildly entertaining. He makes me laugh. And
I think it's funny from afar.
He's
Kevin.
Not my problem, so I can laugh at it.
Exactly. I'm like, if I went to cover him, Lord.
If he was the coach in Bloomington, wasn't his name kind of thrown around there as a rumor or two?
You imagine Mick Cronin and Dan Hurley, just two psychopaths.
Which I think is great for college basketball. Like, that is entertainment. That's
I
what
think
it is.
I think it's great when it's not your program. Like, if he was at IU right now,
I would take Dan Hurley running my program a lot.
He's different because he's won.
Sure.
Mick Cronin doing all of that and you ain't winning nothing. If he tried that at IU, these folks would run him out of Bloomington with pitchforks. Please, come on now.
I think he did get to, I'm looking it up now, he's gone to the Sweet 16 a couple of times, but it's been a couple of years.
Yeah, what are they, a fringe tournament team this year? I think they threw up the graphic last night. I think they had Indiana, maybe UCLA's 10s left in the Big Ten. I am curious what Friday night's going to look like inside of Mackey now. The urgency for Purdue after already losing in Assembly Hall, and then kind of where is Indiana, at? Obviously we saw them against Illinois pretty much get handled that entire game, but really they haven't played much outside of that lately. Like, where is a guy like Nick Dorn? I mean, he the insertion in the starting lineup, they find a little spark with him, and then he hasn't, hit the side of the backboard more than not here over the last 3 or 4 games. And it's just a quick turnaround for Purdue. I think a quick turnaround emotionally for Purdue. Obviously, it's a rival. You would hope and believe that you're going to be ready come Friday night, but definitely curious how that will go inside of Mackey. I think Indiana needs one more to feel really, really safe entering the Big Ten tournament. And that's, obviously Purdue's just looking to beat their rival.
All right, we'll talk about all of that, including the game itself with Michigan last night and Purdue coming up in just a moment. We'll look ahead to the Indiana game. More of your thoughts as we check out the text line in a moment at 239-1070. You can call us up there as well, 239-1070, and we'll be happy to talk to you right here at 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
listening to the Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
That was a tough one last night up at Mackey Arena as the Michigan Wolverines come in and they get off to a big start. Actually, the start was okay for Purdue. They got off to a quick start in the first 4 or 5 minutes, Kevin. It felt like, hey, this is going to be a knockdown dragout all night long. And then there was just that 10-minute period where Michigan just couldn't miss threes. They were getting offensive rebounds. Nothing was going right for Purdue. And the next thing you know, you look up and it's a 20-point Michigan lead.
Yeah, I mean, I know on the scoreboard it was, I guess, back and forth, if you want to say that, for the first, 5 to 7 minutes. But there were a couple of possessions early on where Purdue fouled going after rebounds. And I was like, wow, you just don't really see that. And it was because Michigan was bigger. I guess is why they got whistled for these fouls. They tried to, kind of go through that Michigan size. And even early on, I thought the Kaufman-Wren efficiency wasn't really there.
They missed too many bunnies, KB.
Really struggled. I don't know what their layups were. At one point, it was 5 of 14, I saw.
I mean, you don't make layups, you're not going to win very many basketball games at any level.
It sounded like guys, and watching a little bit last night, sometimes you're playing those big teams and you go a little bit quicker on those layups than you normally would, or you try to do
like
some
your boy
things,
when we go play with JMV and the guys. I mean, anybody trying to come at me when I go to the basket, I'm taking a business decision and throwing it up a little quicker.
I mean, think about Purdue's starting lineup. They start Oscar Clough and Trey Kaufman-Wren. By college basketball standards, that's a big power forward and center.
Absolutely.
So most teams they play are not responding with the same size. Yes, they might have one guy that's that big.
Right.
Okay, so he's on Clough. That means Kaufman-Wren's got a smaller dude. Okay, vice versa. They put him on Kaufman-Wren because he's more the scorer. Then Clough is able to operate a little bit more. Well, Michigan ain't that. Michigan, hell, they got the 6'8" dude on Braden Smith for part of the game. They're just a different animal. And I thought their length bothered the hell out of Purdue. Even early, even when the score was back and forth there. So, and eventually Michigan banged home a bunch of threes like they don't usually do. That was their second best three-point shooting night of the year. So, yeah, those are the two big takeaways for me. Purdue was really bothered by length that usually they have, and the other team doesn't. And Michigan's a wagon. And I don't say this about any team in college basketball right now. I would be surprised if they were not playing at least Saturday night inside of Lucas Oil Stadium in April, if not Monday night.
They sure looked the part last night. Didn't really affect the game, but did you guys think that Clough got hosed on that flagrant call in the second half when he got knocked? Looked to me like he got knocked in to the opposing Michigan player, and they reviewed it, and I kept looking at it, and I couldn't see. They said he had clamped his leg around the guy. I didn't see that. I saw a guy that got just bumped into another player. Kevin, did you see that one?
Yeah, I know Hummel came back and said, maybe he clamped, he clamped it a little bit there. I didn't see it to that degree, but it seems like nowadays with how they officiate that stuff, they're more willing to go to the flagrant, which I don't necessarily agree with. Part of me said, have we watched the Fierce kid at Michigan State and some of the stuff that he gets away with here?
But honestly, they've really been on him about some of that stuff that he does.
Well, not early on. Early on, I thought they let him get away with too much of it. I think lately they've done a little bit more, but
that's true.
But yeah, I mean, again, I think that had absolutely zero bearing on the game.
Zach Edey in attendance last night. Did you guys catch that?
No, I didn't see him. Didn't recognize him at all. When he was walking by or anybody was walking by, I kept saying the Zach Edey guy. I was like, man, I thought it was taller than that. It was a little short on the screen. But I did see him, and honestly, they could use him right about now. And I don't want to go that far, but I guess I will. Who cares? It's radio. I do wonder if you have like your shots in your time to try to go after a national championship in a certain era. Was that shot a couple years ago when you were in the national championship and you just unfortunately ran up against a juggernaut UConn team that was on, the back-to-back run, because that team to where they are now, I can't say that Purdue is better, even though they're preseason number one. And I can't sit here today and say, oh, man, I feel very good about them playing in the Final Four. But at the same time, what do they have, 5 losses this year? And I want to say 3 or 4 are against, some of the top 5 teams in the country. So they're a good team, in my opinion, just not a great team at the moment.
Well, I think that's what last night probably signed Purdue up for. Matt Painter had a quote after the game of, the final test is the NCAA tournament. And he's certainly right about that. And usually Purdue does the reverse. Usually Purdue's had the great Big Ten runs and the great, so many Big Ten championships, et cetera, et cetera. And then, March is different for them. The last night secured for them, and obviously we'll see how the bracket unfolds, but they likely will have to beat, I would say, 3 of those types of teams that you've mentioned they've lost to this year. Just look at their home losses: Iowa State, Illinois, Michigan. It's very rare for Purdue to have 3 home losses. But those are 3 teams we all think could be here at Lucas Oil Stadium in a few weeks. But that's kind of the path that Purdue very well could have to go through to win it all. Last night, to me, just eliminates, in all likelihood, the number 1 seed possibility. You win last night, you're still very much in that ballpark there. So that's the question. Obviously, you've got to get through whatever. You're going to be, let's call Purdue a 2 seed. Yeah, you 15, and then whatever, the 7-10, and then maybe the 3 of the 6. And then if that 1 seed pops up on the other side of the bracket, let's call that 1 seed Duke. Okay. And then another region, let's call 1 seed, whatever, Arizona. And then, you could be looking at the other side of the bracket. So I think that's what it kind of secured of like, all right, this pathway, if you're going to do it, is going to be brutal. And that's probably the biggest difference from 2 years ago, James. Yes, obviously the ED element is there, but in that year, it was UConn, Purdue, and everybody else.
Right.
This year is not that at all. To me, it's Michigan. And then I think you've got a core of about 6 to 8 teams that are all as good as that Purdue team from 2 years ago. I mean, when you look at the top heavy nature to, again, Duke and Illinois and
Houston,
certainly the Big 12 teams, Houston and Arizona, and, we'll see Iowa State. We'll see exactly what the Kansas situation looks like. That to me is like legit, 2 to 7, 2 to 8. Which, again, I just don't remember that happening in college basketball here in recent years.
Yeah, I'm looking at Joe Lunardi's latest bracketology, and right now he would have Purdue playing in the West, and their first game would be, again, this is right now, would be against Navy. They win that. They'd get the winner of Villanova and Georgia. And then to advance after the next weekend, they'd probably have to play either Kentucky or Texas Tech. So that's just where we're at right now. And Indiana sitting at a 9 seed in bracketology right now. And actually at 8-7 the conference record, and maybe they'd have to sweep Purdue to get this. But he says the highest projected seed that they could possibly get would be 6, but feels like they'd have to go on quite a run to move up from 9 to 6, James.
For sure. For sure.
Yeah. So there's college basketball in a nutshell. Kevin, I did note you're wearing a Tiger is Back t-shirt and a Tiger Woods hat. Does that have anything to do with the fact that I read an article yesterday that said Tiger's not ruling himself out of the Masters this year?
Jeff Rickard, were you valedictorian back in the day out there?
Definitely not valedictorian.
Mark a little under the weather here. Was maybe hoping for a little audio, potentially.
Of Tiger Woods? Or what do you want?
Now, he said, he was asked very directly, right?
Yeah.
If the Masters is off the table, and he responded with a no, correct?
Right, because isn't he hosting his tournament this weekend at Riviera, right?
Yeah, the Genesis, there in Southern California. And he offered up a nice smirk afterwards. So
I'm here for it if he goes.
Boy, I'll tell you what, it sounded a little bit like Rick Carlisle responding to me about the Notre Dame Virginia trip there. That's what I heard there. I didn't hear an outright no. And yeah, it was very reminiscent, back in the day, certainly not recently, but back in the day, you maybe text someone that you're interested in and you're kind of sitting there looking at your phone and then, oh, did I see the 3 dots pop up? Is she?
You're just waiting.
Is she responding?
It's possible.
Wait a minute here. You're telling me there's a chance.
What was, you would know, what was the latest surgery and how long ago was it?
There's a chance.
Mm-hmm. That's how I felt yesterday. 2 months away.
He had a back surgery.
Maddie, you want to try for a 4th?
Easy now. We got to draw the line. Come on now, Mark. 5 months ago, I think it was back. And wasn't it Achilles like 7 months ago? I mean, that man's had
I remember the Achilles back.
He's had more surgeries than, insert your plastic surgeon joke about, whoever here. He's had a lot of them.
Well, it's possible, Kevin.
But I heard exactly what you heard, Jeff.
It's possible.
I think he's going to play, and I think he's going to win.
KB, can you give me your top 3 favorite athletes all time?
Luke Herringody, Tiger, and Bonzie Colson in some order.
Okay.
You got to have a Notre Dame guy on there. Notre Dame
Oh,
basketball.
yeah, we
player.
were talking about Luke Herringody the other day.
I got 2 Notre Dame guys on there.
Yeah, but I was thinking I hadn't heard Bonzie's name mentioned in a while.
Mark, if you could find that question and answer clip, I could use a little exciting jolt here on this Wednesday morning, if you don't mind here. Just Tiger responding to that.
I'll do my best.
Coming up at the top of the hour, we're going to talk to Nathan Brown about
Do you
the
ever
Colts.
get that way when you saw the 3 dots, thinking, oh boy?
Oh, yeah.
What's it going to be?
I would say, KB, it's gone both ways.
And then they would stop. The 3 dots would stop. I'm like, what the hell, Apple?
I'm not going to lie, brother. You think the 3 dots are going one way. You get the text, and then you get the other text. Yeah, not good.
Okay, thumbs up turned into the
or you get the they're really upset text, and I'm like and that's when my 3 dots stop working.
Mm-hmm. 3 dots turns into a 2 or 3 paragrapher, and then it's
exactly.
Like, I wasn't wanting that. I just wanted to look back.
I've been a very good reader, I would say, for the majority of my life, but your boy does not do very long text messages, so. Maybe that's cost me a pass a little bit.
Final thing with you in regards to your recovery. Is the Masters off the table for you?
No.
I need a little more juice in that no. That no was a little, but we'll take it.
It was pointed. It was a definitive no. He didn't hesitate.
Absolutely. So how does it work? If you won the Masters before, you automatically get a chance to play it again?
It's funny. I believe Mark Dykton's been an entrant before. Mark, you've done the Masters pool that I run before, have you not?
Yes.
So, I was bored one night this week, and I was like, you know what? Time to dial up the Masters pool. Let's see who's in this year's field for 2026. And I'm scrolling through the invitees, trying to assign them to some groups here. And it's alphabetically. And I start going down the list. And sure enough, invitee, Tiger Woods. And I thought to myself, wait a minute. Wait a freaking minute. He has yet to say no. And then you hear that. And again, it sounded like Rick Carlisle responding to my Notre Dame trip invite from a couple weeks ago. That's what I heard there.
I think there's a better chance
Doors
Tiger
cracked
plays.
open. That's what I hear.
This wasn't the response that he gave you at the trade deadline with the no.
Don't you feel though, James, there's a better chance of Tiger playing at the Masters this year than Rick going to a Notre Dame Virginia game with Kevin?
I don't know. I think KB be holding out on us. He's played golf with the commissioner before, so I think Rick Carlisle be like a rung below that.
To be very clear, I did not play golf with Commissioner Goodell. Is Roger Goodell the most beloved commissioner in sports right now? Do people now hate Adam Silver?
Well, I would say right now, as far as American sports, he has to be. I mean, by default, because Adam Silver, his approval rating can't be very high.
Rob Manfred's the worst.
No, he can't be in there. And then I read about the
Tell me the NHL guys still
MLBA,
Gary
what is
Bettman,
it? MLBPA, like president or whatever.
Tony Clark.
Tony Clark.
Yeah, he
was having an affair with his sister-in-law.
Is that what we've been reported?
That and misappropriation of some funds, perhaps.
This makes some of Tiger's acts seem pretty normal here.
I don't know.
There wasn't much normal going on back
there. I say until we see a breaking news that there's a golf club stuck in the back windshield of a car. I don't know.
I got some breaking news.
No.
Caleb has stepped into the control room, is about to relieve Mark Dykton. We had to tap on the right arm there and make a call to the bullpen. So Caleb is going to take us home today.
Caleb, as always, unbelievable effort from him. We appreciate it on very, very short notice, and I hope Mark Dykton feels better amidst his fumbling through some audio there.
Yeah, he had a rough morning this morning. We were informed that Mark had to stop the car. And
if you projectiled on the highway, wouldn't you just turn it around? I can't believe he came in.
I know. I'm impressed. Playing hurt there.
Someone mentioned in the text line, they were like, "Yeah, I would have turned around, and you all would have had to find your peacock sounds on your own." Very true. But I appreciate Mark coming in, and honestly, as somebody who missed a couple of shows, 2 weeks ago, I can feel you, brother.
Yeah, there's something been going around. I think my youngest might have some of it too. So, Mark, take care of yourself. Get better today. He's leaving the control room as we speak right now, but we certainly hope that he's good to go and ready to get back at it tomorrow. So. Got to give him credit for coming in.
Yeah, you stick around long enough to get the cluster truck at the beginning of the week, and then if you're feeling a little ill, you bow out gracefully later on.
There's a PTO joke somewhere in there, but we'll just let that sit there. I am curious. Nathan Brown's going to join us. Come up 9 o'clock. We'll talk a little Colts again. We're in now day 2 of the franchise tag window. Combine coming up next week. Someone brought up to me yesterday, and there's a little bit of a nerdy element to it. So, but would the Colts use at all the transition tag?
Ooh, I'm glad you've asked about this because I went down a rabbit hole and put out an explainer this morning on how all the tags work.
Well, then you go, because this is fresh on your mind. Can you explain in the most elementary way, and I don't know, maybe we should say this for 8:30, but if you can do it here, explain the difference between what we normally refer to as a franchise tag versus what the transition tag would be. A little cheaper.
Yes,
option.
The transition tag is a little bit cheaper, but there's less of an incentive to do it, meaning, so I'll break it down real quick. There's 3 type of tags you can do: the non-exclusive tag, the exclusive tag, and the transition tag. The exclusive tag or non-exclusive tag is the most popular because let's say I sign Jeff to a contract. That means that you, Jeff, if you're a non-exclusive franchise tag person, you can sign an offer sheet with another team.
And you can match it.
And I can match it, but if you leave, I am entitled to at least 2 first-round picks or some sort of draft compensation if we agree to it, like basically like a sign and trade, if that makes sense. And so that takes the salary, like the salary of the non-exclusive franchise tag is the average over the last 5 years of the highest paid players at your position, or 120% of your previous year's salary, whichever one is higher. So obviously, Alec Pierce, for example, 120% of his rookie contract is not going to be anywhere near the max value or what he should be paid. So he would get the average of the 5 years of the highest paid players at his position over that time span. So for the exclusive franchise tag, it's a little bit different. The biggest difference is that you have no right to negotiate with another team if I sign you to a non-exclusive or to an exclusive franchise tag. The reason why it doesn't really happen is because it's locked into the highest paid players at your position for that previous year, not the last 5. So that could be actually higher. And if you look at the numbers and things like that, I think the last person that got the exclusive tag was Dak Prescott in 2020. It's very rarely used. And then when you look at the last one on the list, transition tag, this is the cheapest one. And this one takes the average of the top 10 salaries at your position. And so in this scenario, it's obviously cheaper and it works better for your team. However, if you sign an offer sheet with a new team and I don't match it, I don't get a chance to get any draft compensation, which is why teams don't do it. Like, for example, I could say, hey, we want to pay you this. And then you're looking like, well, I'm not going to why would I agree to a transition tag or sign that? Or why would you even offer me that if I could just up and leave and you don't get anything in return for me? So that's why teams very rarely use that. And they don't use it necessarily at positions that are premium. So that's as plain English as I can explain it. It's a little more nuanced than that. But I put out an explainer this morning, actually, at The Athletic. You can go check that out and read for yourselves. But that is the gist of it. And honestly, for the purposes of conversations here on this show, we will operate under the franchise tag. We refer to that term as the non-exclusive franchise tag because that's the one that pretty much every team has used recently. And it's the only one that the Colts have used during the Chris Ballard era, which was with Michael Pittman Jr. a couple years ago.
We saw Kirk Cousins get a couple of those. How many of those can a team give you? 2? Is that it?
I believe it's 2, but again, the price goes up. So, there's nowhere in the world
just one each year, to be clear. Just
yes,
one each year. You can't do transition tag.
But you can get tagged again.
Right. You can't franchise tag Daniel Jones and transition tag Alec Pierce.
Yeah, but you can. I think what Jeff was asking was, can you be tagged again in the future?
I think
you
T. Higgins has gotten tagged.
Exactly, but it's very rare that you do that because then again, you're basically, if you tag somebody twice, 2 years in a row, you're guaranteeing them 2 years of a fully guaranteed salary that is at the pretty much highest price point in the market. So typically, you want to try to strike a long-term deal, which I do think if we see that happen with Alec Pierce, this wouldn't be a scenario of him playing hardball and saying, I'm not going to play on the tag. I think it's more so kind of like we saw with Pittman, where you use it to make sure you don't leave, and then we come to the table and we figure out what we can do. And honestly, guys, I was looking at Pittman and just the numbers from a few years ago. So when he got tagged, and again, that was a non-exclusive franchise tag, his projected salary that year, fully guaranteed, was going to be $21.8 million. And now the tag for a wide receiver has risen to about 28.8, I want to say, or somewhere in that range. So I mean, boy, great time to be on the open market if you're Michael Pittman, I'm sorry, if you're Alec Pierce.
Yeah, good for him. All right, Caleb, you ready to go? You're in the seat. You're all settled in, and
he's got
ready
a
to start firing
hazmat
some
suit
throws,
on.
man.
How about that? This looks like 2020 all over again.
It's good to see you, buddy.
Don't say that, please, Lord.
Happy to be here.
Thanks for coming in on short notice. We appreciate that.
No problem.
All right, let's check it down.
The Morning Checkdown, brought to you by the Barbasol Horizon League Basketball Championships. March starts here. The Barbasol Horizon League Basketball Championships with NCAA tournament bids online. March 8th through 10th. Tickets and more at horizonleague.com/Indy.
Michigan, the number one team in the country, knocking off Purdue at Mackey last night. 91-80, the final score. They had led by as many as 20 in the first half, and they were tough. Those big guys yesterday. Ade Mara had 10 points, 11 rebounds. Morez Johnson, 12 points and 11 rebounds. Yaxel Lindeborg had 13 points, even hit a 3 out there, 7 assists. And then Elliot Cadeau was terrific at point guard for Michigan, 17.7 assists. That was enough to overcome Trey Kaufman-Wren's 27 points, 12 rebounds. Braden Smith's 20 points and 6 assists. But almost all of those Braden Smith numbers, Kevin, game was already decided. It was almost all in the second half.
Yeah, he was scoreless in the first half. Again, the Michigan length, I just thought bothered the hell out of Purdue. It honestly was indicative of what Purdue usually does to other teams. Even Trey Kaufman-Wren, the stat line at the end of the night is great, but the efficiency early on, I thought he was really, really bothered. Clough and Jacobson were terrible in trying to finish through some of that Michigan length. So that was the big issue, and Michigan's a wagon. I mean, they are. I'd be hard-pressed to find a more dominant college basketball team in recent years. I tried to rattle off some of the stats yesterday just to reiterate one. Michigan now 25-1. That was their 21st win by double digits this season. 21 of 25. And look at their non-conference. It's not like they were shy in the non-conference. And they're doing it in a year in the Big Ten where we talk about the Big Ten like we haven't talked about the conference as a whole in quite some time. So Dusty May's got a team that should be playing into the month of April.
Yeah, they are 25-1. They've won 11 in a row. They sit atop the standings in the Big Ten, and that's all she wrote for a regular season hopes for Purdue Boilermakers to win the conference, as Matt Painter pointed out last night.
These dudes ain't losing 4 games. We got 4 losses. They ain't losing 4 games. So that's just that. That's reality. When you've been in a league for over 25 years, that's reality. When you face up to people like that, that's why they're ranked the way they are. Because, you can be preseason number 1 in the country. That means nothing. But when you're in the middle of February and you're number 1 in the country, it means a whole lot because you earned that one. They earned that. They earned what they've gotten.
That was Matt Painter. Obviously, it was Robbie Hummel. Big night for him last night. Not only was he broadcasting on Peacock, but they introduced the Robbie Hummel bobblehead. And Matt Painter also pointed out that they had to give him a bobblehead because they couldn't get him a statue. So there you go, James.
Fair enough. He was a great player for them. A lot of great talent has come through that program.
College basketball later tonight. Butler at Georgetown starts at 6:30 with the tip. Our pregame begins at 6 o'clock here at 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. You can watch it on TV at Fox Sports 1. Butler will be playing. They have been playing for a long time now without the freshman Jack McCaffrey. He's going to get a red shirt now, Kevin. He's been out with an infection after having his wisdom teeth removed. And the coach said he had lost 15 pounds, and we haven't seen him play since really early December, right? It's been a while.
Yeah, I mean, he's one of the slew of guys that are in street clothes. The Finley Bizjack injury is the bigger one for tonight. 6.5-point underdog against Georgetown. It sounded like Finley was close to playing Sunday against Seton Hall. So how did a couple more days off go? Nation's Capital tonight, 6:30 again. Another 6:30 tip here. FS1 for Butler. Butler Xavier coming up Saturday afternoon. I want to say it's 1:30. Should we go a little 4-pack?
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Text line 317-239-1070.
Yeah, put Butler in your text.
Name, email.
Yep. Good stuff. And you got the connection. You got the hookup for those tickets, man. You've been generous with those this year. Appreciate that. We can also tell you that Rick Carlisle met with the media yesterday as the Pacers get ready to return to action after the All-Star break. They will play tomorrow night and Friday night in Washington against the Wizards. Both teams trying to keep that bottom four standing alive in the ultimate NBA standing so you can get a better chance at a lottery pick. 14% chance for the bottom four teams. That's equal there. But the fifth team is what, 12.5%, Kevin? It's not that much different.
Well, and again, I kind of look at the top four odds better. I think that's a little bit more indicative. Obviously, the number one pick would be great, but, if you finish in the top three, I think it's a 52% chance to retain one of those top four picks. You start to drop, though, it gets into the 30s. And that's notable when you think about just purely odds there. So that's the question here of the final 27 games. And again, we'll see exactly how things play out here of who plays tomorrow night and who plays Friday night. Because Friday night's been the second night of back-to-backs where the Pacers have rested.
Coach was asked yesterday, Coach Carlisle asked when we might see Ivica Zubac and Obi Toppin again. He says it'll be a while on both of them. They're progressing steadily but slowly, James Boyd.
Yeah, and again, I think they're going to be under a microscope when it comes to their player participation because of the fine. So what does that exactly look like? I know Zubac might be a well-documented injury, but for some of those guys who got, I guess, docked by the NBA or kind of, red flagged, is that something that will make you have to play them when it comes to these games and these matchups?
All right. By the way, welcome to the show again, Caleb Zuver. Will you be interested in the USA hockey and Sweden just after 3 o'clock this afternoon?
Can't say I've watched much of the hockey, but I've watched all the unique events. I just find it so fascinating. The big air skiing, the skeleton, all that stuff. That's what I'm more into. So I haven't kept up too much with the men's and women's hockey teams.
Caleb, they call me Indiana Bones, so the skeleton sounds like my kind of event.
Team USA will be starting Connor Hellebuck in goal. So hopefully he gets hot and they can get on a run. It's the quarterfinals. They are the number 2 seed right now. Canada is seeded number 1. Sweden, should have been the number 3 seed, but they did not win their group. That's how they ended up in the quarterfinals with the United States because they just didn't score enough points in the round robin to get up that high. So unfortunately, that's a tough matchup for the United States. I was showing you this yesterday, Kevin. Canada, Sweden, the United States, all 25 of their roster spots, NHL players. So it's going to be intense.
So we got a bad draw here. That's the quarterfinal game against a team full of NHL players?
Yep, that's how it goes.
I don't like that.
All right. Anything else you guys want to throw in before we head to break here?
Shout out to Miami of Ohio, stretching that undefeated season. Another game last night, 26-0 over UMass, 86-77. I forgot UMass was in the MAC until last night there. Some thought this would be their toughest regular season game left. So Pete Suter, once again, 23 points for the Carmel product for Travis Steele and company. So 5 to go for Miami of Ohio as they try to continue this undefeated season. And again, I think it's vital, it seems like from a computer standpoint, to go undefeated in the regular season, give them a buffer if they lose short of the MAC tournament. I know it sounds crazy, but PTSD with Indiana State is alive and well.
All right, quick timeout, and we'll talk a little bit more basketball, both college and NBA, in a moment here as we continue at 239-1070 is the text line. We'd love to hear from you. It's all coming up next at 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
listening to the Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Good morning, along with James Boyd, Kevin Bowen, and Caleb Zuver, who has relieved Mark Dykton mid-show this morning. Hello, Caleb. I'm Jeff Rickard.
Bullpen game for me.
I like it. We're looking for good stuff. You got your good stuff today? Good
I don't
movement?
know. I'll be honest. I was snoozing this morning when I got the call, but that woke me up right away. It was 1 minute before my alarm went off anyway, so we were kind of ready to go.
Well, we appreciate you being here.
Thank you, Caleb.
No problem.
Check out the fan text line at 239-1070. A lot of people weighing in on the tanking topic. Scott says, Adam Silver and his take on tanking, I don't think he cares about how it affects the fans or the product that we see on the floor. The only thing he cares about is how it affects the NBA gambling partners and how it's costing them money. I think he does care about the perception, James.
I do think that's a very good point, though. And one I wish that he was pressed on when it came to his state of affairs news conference at All-Star Weekend, because to sit up here and act like that's not at least part of the equation would be disingenuous. Betting runs almost everything, it feels like, in professional sports these days, considering all the rules that they have and how much money, quite frankly, is bringing into these leagues. So, yes, I do think there are those betting partners that may have gone to the league and said, hey, you guys got to do something about this, because when we're saying, putting overs and unders, we can't have people, complaining to us about losing bets because you're not playing guys as you normally would in a normal season. So I would love to give Adam Silver some truth serum to get to the bottom of that.
I don't know. If I was gambling on the NBA, I'd probably stay away from 6 or 8 teams the rest of the year is what I'm saying, James.
Yeah.
Isn't there a certain point it's on you when you know stuff might be going on?
I mean, that's why they have a gambling hotline. They ain't stop nobody, ever in the history of gambling. So, I mean, it is what it is.
Kevin Troy says, honestly, if they want to monitor who's hurt and who's not hurt, all they need to do is have the medical staff documents more precisely each and every ailment that a player has. So then any independent physician that reviews the records won't be able to counteract their decisions. My guess is it was just a poor effort of documenting when the Pacers were talking about guys that were hurt. But how do you say whether a guy's ankle still feels sore to him? I mean, you'll remember this, James, when the great Derrick Rose hurt his knee and it really changed the trajectory of his career in Chicago. His medical staff and his front office are saying, well, we've been told it's fine. Structurally, it looks good. We don't see swelling. Everything's good. And Derrick Rose kept telling them it doesn't feel right. Something's still wrong. And that almost led to the divorce between the two, didn't it?
A little bit, but I would have to say, obviously, a torn ACL or MCL, whatever it was back then for Derrick Rose, is probably a little easier to, play the whole long game when it comes to the recovery versus an ankle sprain. So,
right, but I guess my point is when it comes to certain injuries, even an ankle sprain, a guy can just say, hey, man, I'm just telling you my ankle was not good to go tonight. That's all he has to say, right? How can you counteract that?
Well, they just did. You come in with an independent physician and they say you could have played. I know it sounds crazy, and I understand your point, Jeff. I tend to agree because you're not in that person's body, but, I mean, they have these mechanisms in place to basically force you to play if they feel like you could. So I would like to know, and I think, Jeff, the point you're trying to make here is, like, how do we go through that process? I would love to know that process, seriously. Like, that would be a great story. I mean, no one's going to talk to you for it because it involves medical records and things like that. But when a player says, I can't play, and the NBA says, no, you can, what does that look like? What does that entail? Are you having the independent doctor come in and poke and prod the player? Are you just reviewing medical records? Are you talking with coaches or whatever? Are you looking at league trends as far as what an absence should be or look like? I'm very curious about that.
I'm still trying to process Jeff saying in the break he's as big a Tiger Woods fan as I am.
Yeah,
look, I don't have a bunch of clothes for Tiger Woods. I do have.
Well, then
I've got
there
Tiger.
you have it. You don't.
Gotta be a top 3 dumbest statement in the history of the game.
No.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
There are many,
Jeff,
many
do you know
a
how
Sunday.
much that man loves Tiger Woods?
Many, many a Sunday that my father and I sat down together specifically to watch Tiger Woods. You can call Grant. I make Grant watch Tiger Woods highlights all the time.
Let's just start very simply. We all know Tiger, 97 Masters.
I was going to say,
epic,
yes,
right? It's his first major. Where was Tiger's second major win?
The second major win would have been
ask
U.S.
me.
Open, I believe.
No.
No?
PGA Championship.
I may not know the stats. Like
I rest
may
my
not know
case.
the stats.
We could do this for 3 hours, but we're not going to do it. One thing to add, James.
Who did he go up against in the U.S. Open, the famous 18-hole playoff when he played on a broken leg?
Rocco, of course. Come on now.
Just ask.
I want to go back a little bit to that transition tag you brought up last segment, James, because I know we're going to double back with Nathan Brown coming up at 9 o'clock. And I thought James laid it out wonderfully. Franchise tag, transition tag, all of this. Just to put a couple numbers behind it, I think the transition tag I saw reported yesterday, if you franchise tag Alec Pierce, a.k.a. you don't let him negotiate with other teams, it's about $29 million.
Yes.
The transition tag would be about $25.
Yes.
So you're talking about a $4 million difference in keeping him from negotiating.
Right.
For Daniel Jones, it's about a $7 million difference. I think it's like 47 to 40. So
yes,
that doesn't. I think 7 and 5 million, right around there. I do think it matters to the Colts.
Yes,
because they are, I think, in a little bit of a tighter cap situation if they want to check all the boxes.
Right.
Keep Jones, keep Pierce, keep Nick Cross, go out and get a new defensive end, maybe get a new linebacker. Like when you start adding all that up,
right?
You know, a handful of million matters, but when you think about it from it keeps you from negotiating with other teams. You know, that is a big price because I look at Pierce especially and think to myself, if he is able to do that, I think a lot of people would be surprised how much that contract could look like.
Absolutely. And if you slap the franchise tag on Alec Pierce, the non-exclusive tag that we were talking about, which is the most popular, which in theory allows you to negotiate with other teams and sign another offer sheet with another team. But the implication is, okay, if you sign that offer sheet and you want to leave, that team has to give us 2 first-round picks. That effectively makes you like ineligible to be moved because no one's going to give up 2 first-round picks for Alec Pierce. I mean, he's a good ascending player, but he's not a great, great player. Otherwise, I mean, no team would even bother trying to do that. Like, for example, like I said, with the exclusive tag, which is a little bit more expensive than all of them, and the one that basically says you can't negotiate with anybody ever, no matter what they would be willing to give up. It rarely happens, and the last time it happened was with the quarterback, Dak Prescott. So I went through my theories and my cases of like why they should tag Daniel Jones, why they should tag Alec Pierce. I ultimately will side with the latter in that scenario. And I think the biggest reason why I would do it is because of the injury history when it comes to Daniel Jones. He is someone who has only completed 1 full year through his first 7. So I look at it like, had he stayed healthy for the entire 2025 season, led the Colts to the playoffs, we'd be sitting here today having a very different conversation and saying, you got to tag him because you absolutely need your quarterback to come back. But now I view it as maybe his list of suitors isn't as big when it comes to the QB needy teams because, one, he's only had 1 playoff season in his career and 1 healthy season, which was that year. And then 2, can you bank on him to be healthy enough to get you there? And I think if there's any team willing to bet on that, it's probably the last team you were with that was with you with all the injury, the medical history, the rehab, and stuff like that. So in a nutshell, I think it's a very easy decision to tag Alec Pierce. And then from there, it's, okay, what does your long-term contract look like? Because I can't imagine that either side would move forward with him playing on a 1-year deal. I mean, Alec Pierce is an ascending player, but the knock on him is he hasn't had the back-to-back, or he hasn't had a bunch of great years. Like George Pickens has had a couple of great seasons. You can't say the same thing for Alec Pierce. So I think that he would really embrace the chance to be tagged and then get a long-term deal because, I mean, hey, if he tries to play on the tag and has a drop-off year, then your stock drops immediately.
Listener Ross need a 30-minute segment of you versus Jeff and Tiger trivia.
Oh, boy.
I don't know if I go head-to-head trivia with you, but I'll be closer than you think.
Yeah, I don't know.
You know who else loves Tiger as much as you? Gritty checking in saying.
Look like a 1 seed versus a 16 seed in the women's tournament.
Not even.
Look like what
Maybe
UConn women
seed.
do to those 16 seeds.
I'm not going to lie. What compelled you to say that, Jeff? I mean, you know how the man is about Tiger Woods.
Medina, remember Sergio closing his eyes behind the tree? Come on, Jeff.
Hey. This is radio, man.
I know there's 15
already this morning.
I know there's 15 majors to choose from. Gritty, by the way, says she loves Tiger as much as you do.
And I love Gritty.
Okay. I think that says it all, right? I love Gritty, too.
P1 listener out there.
One of our favorites. All right, we've got Nathan Brown talking more Colts coming up top of the hour. We'll get back to some of your comments and more basketball. Next, it's 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
Hair's going to fall out here if these Eldrick Woods trivia questions keep on coming up here throughout the show. If your hair is falling out, good news. I've got some places to help. We Grow Hair Indy. That's where you need to go online. That would be wegrowhairindy.com. Northwest Side, building number 2 at the Pyramids. Again, shout out to, I think it was Ridger in the YouTube chat the other day. He said, Kevin saw your billboard up on the Northwest Side, and oh boy, that before picture was quite ugly. The after picture, though, much better. So, good, right? Those are the goals of We Grow Hair Indy. They're trying to improve what you've got, and I feel like they did that for me. So thank you to Darren Andrews and his staff. The Artist Robotic FUE hair procedure. You can see some of the videos of what I was dealing with and day of procedure and recovery and all that online at wegrowhairindy.com. Again, they are the gold standard for hair restoration. The best in the business, We Grow Hair Indy.
listening to the Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Did you tell Caleb to play that, or did he do that all on his own?
Caleb is a magician in there. He does whatever he wants.
He comes right in and he just throwing heat right on the corner of the plate, man.
Still got the fastball, 98.
Pitchers and catchers reporting, and he's coming in here mowing down.
What you guys
3, 4, 5 in the
Caleb,
order.
can we get some boxing sounds, some Ready to Rumble? Because that sort of music right there, we could just have Jeff and KB line up here in front of the cameras here for the YouTube chat.
There's a double meaning with that song, James.
Yes.
Yeah, Eye of the Tiger, that also, these two are about to go Ivan Drago and
Well,
Rocky.
no, because Kevin's very upset that I dare say that I'm a Tiger Woods fan.
Oh, no, you didn't say that.
No.
I said the quote.
Let's not
I'm going to quote
misalign
myself.
words.
I'm going to quote myself. I said, during a break, I said, low key, I might be as big a Tiger Woods fan as you are.
James, there was no might in there.
Okay.
You
Low
heard
key, I'm as big a Tiger Woods fan as you are.
And Mike, he was really trying to
There was
soften
no
the blow.
might in there. There was a low key, which I thought to myself, oh boy, there's nothing low key about that.
I would say virtually every Sunday afternoon when Tiger was in contention, that thing was on. When I say in contention, anywhere within 5 strokes of the lead, which was most tournaments. A fan. I don't know what to tell you.
James's reaction said it all. James had a very audible reaction when he heard that during the break.
I just knew you were setting yourself up. Jeff, you're setting yourself up. This is like,
There's no bigger fan of Notre Dame basketball than Kevin. There's no bigger fan of Tiger Woods than Kevin.
I mean, here on these airwaves, that is 1,000% true.
We brought this up late in the show yesterday. By the way, Nathan Brown to talk some Colts here coming up.
When's Tiger's birthday? I do know this.
Him and LeBron
December,
share.
right? They shared
December
27th. Is it 30th?
LeBron, Tiger, Greg Rakestraw, all the same birthdays.
Birthday, yeah.
Say no more.
There you go.
Who needs a fourth on the Mount Rushmore when you have those three?
Sandy Koufax, December 30th.
Really?
Yeah.
Yes.
Caleb Zuber.
There's
literally
your Mount
bringing
Rushmore.
heat with Sandy Koufax.
I was going to say, talk about bringing the fastball.
We
Right
talked
there.
about this to end the show yesterday, but for those that missed it, we had a listener, Derek, chimed in here about we got into the Michael Pittman Jr. debate. And again, $29 million cap hit for next season. We've seen some teams, i.e. Miami, start to cut some guys. Would Michael Pittman Jr. be a candidate like that? He said this. He goes, Pittman Jr. has dominated Alec Pearson catches every year, including last season. How does Pierce become wide receiver 1 and Pittman get shown the door?
I'll take a stab at that one. The reality is the money, the big cap hit that Michael Pittman Jr. has next season, he will not get. That is just simply reality. Unless he takes a significant pay cut to return to the Colts, he will not be a Colts player in 2026. That is a proposition that he acknowledged at the end of the season in the locker room right after the game. He gave us the whole spiel. I mean, within maybe an hour and a half after the season ended. Oh, yeah, you know what? If my last game here for the Colts was this, I've enjoyed being here. I'm paraphrasing, but that is pretty much what he said. That's number one. So it's always about money. Never forget that. I know billionaires can pay a lot of things and they're rich for a reason, but brother, they ain't never going to pay more than they have to. And then two, one is a declining player. The other one's ascending. I think last year we could excuse Michael Pittman Jr.'s lack of production because of the fractured back, but that was not the case this year in 2025. He was healthy. The reality is that Alec Pierce was simply the better receiver. And to Alec's credit, I thought he expanded his route tree, Kevin and Jeff, because he wasn't just the deep threat. That's always been his great, unique skill. And Kevin talks about that. What skill's easier to replace? I think it's Michael Pittman Jr.'s skill set than Alec's. But to give Alec credit, he isn't just a one-trick pony anymore. He showed the ability to win underneath some of those intermediate routes. I go back to the Denver game. He had a great crossing route on Patrick Surtain, who at the time was the reigning defensive player of the year. So long-winded way of saying that, again, one player is ascending, one player is declining. And also, the last point about this is Alec is younger and Pittman is older.
Nodding my head at so much of that. Pierce led the league in yards per catch, and Pittman was 15th or 20th in catches. I just think it's easier to find. And I want to be clear
What's
about.
crazy is he had his career high, and I think in touchdown receptions for Pittman this past year, but his second lowest yardage output since his rookie year.
Yeah, touchdowns have always been kind of a low number for him. And I want to be clear on Pittman. I do not think you show him the door like Caleb showed Mark Dykton the door 20 minutes ago. Like, I think this is something to where.
Well, I think. Hold on.
Do we have a conspiracy theory now?
Or maybe
Do we have a
Mark is gonna
conspiracy
be
theory?
back. Okay, we don't have breaking news here on the show.
Maybe how I should show Jeff the door if we got into a Tiger trivia is probably the better way to put it.
Good luck.
But like, I do not think they just need
furniture moving up in here.
to all of a sudden, whatever, take Michael Pittman Jr. and drive him to the airport like Carson Wentz. Like, I still think a restructure is what I would do, I guess, to put it simply. Because you don't have, and I say this in all seriousness, not to go down the A.D. Mitchell rabbit hole, but like, you don't have A.D. Mitchell anymore. And if A.D. Mitchell had shown in Indy what he showed in New York for a couple months, you might sit there and say, you know what? It's a risk. But what if we said $29 million out the door for Pittman?
Yeah.
A.D. Mitchell, bigger role. Ashton Doolin, bigger role. Like, they don't have that on their depth chart. So, and I look at it as too much of a luxury almost to say, Pittman, see ya. Let's go draft Malachi Fields out of Notre Dame in round 2. Or, where I actually saw Daniel Jeremiah had him in round 1 mock, which I know a couple Colts fans have pointed out to me. So that, to me, is, I think, one of the bigger questions here this offseason. So I understand where Derek's coming from, but I'm not going there.
All right. We'll leave you with one thing before we talk more Colts with Nathan Brown coming up in a second. Every day this week, you've got me addicted, James, to tankathon.com. Every day I run a new simulation. Today, the Pacers are 7th today. 7th.
Let's go to break. Not good, Jeff. You got to bring some better energy, better juice.
I think we had 2 the other day, didn't we?
That is true.
All right. We'll do that every day. In the meantime, we'll talk Colts. Nathan Brown. I'll try to go out of the studio and let Kevin calm down for a moment. It's 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Indoor and outdoor concrete. That is Galaxy Concrete Coatings. They actually went out last night. Sounded like we got some rain last night, and I was looking on our patio in the backyard. I'm very, very pleased with, we're going to be out here. I think I might grill some burgers tonight. I mean, hell, it's balmy outside. North of 60 today. It's going to be great. We'll experience the indoor, but especially the outdoor concrete. Thank you to Galaxy Concrete Coatings for that. New sidewalk, new front porch. I say new. It's been about 3 or 4 years. Still looks new to me. The Jupiter style, what we went with. So again, indoor and outdoor concrete means garages, basements, patios, porches, sidewalks. Patios, probably something they specialize in the most in a hospitality aspect of it. You obviously want to have whatever, neighbors, family, friends over. You want to be outdoors. You want to make sure you like what you're looking down at, and that's what Galaxy Concrete Coatings provides. So online, galaxyconcretecoatings.com, indoor and outdoor concrete.
You're listening to the Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Good morning. Hope your Wednesday is going well. Got Olympic hockey later on today. United States, just after 3 o'clock. Quarterfinals against Sweden. More on that a little bit later on. In the meantime,
we'll have some boxing here in the studio as well, baby.
Yeah, let's go. Let's go.
Keep the camera rolling.
Let's go. I'll tell you what we do have, though. Nathan Brown from the Indy Star is on the Payless Liquors hotline right now. Nathan, happy Wednesday to you. Hope things are going well for you. Don't ever challenge your fandom of Tiger Woods with one Kevin Bowen. You will be rebuked immediately.
That's fair. I will keep note of that.
All right. We're obviously calling to talk a little bit about the Colts today. They got a lot of decisions to make in the next week or two, and then even more decisions after that. So for those just joining us this morning, kind of set the stage on what the Colts are looking at right now.
Yeah. So the franchise tag window opened yesterday. Colts now have 2 weeks to decide. This is a team that has rarely used this. I think Chris Ballard has often called this a tool. He's only used it once in his GM tenure. It was 2 years ago when they tagged Michael Pittman Jr. Before they ended up signing him to a longer-term deal, which is oftentimes what happens. But the Colts now not only have to decide whether they use that or not, but probably more likely who they use it on, between quarterback Daniel Jones, who they, I think, view as not only their short-term fix at quarterback, but long-term as well, and Alec Pierce, who really shined last year and came to the end of the fourth year on his rookie deal.
Nathan, I love when I'm on the right track because I think we wrote the same story today.
Yeah, I read it right after I dropped my kids off. I do think so.
Yeah, that's when you know, like, it's the middle of the off season and we're all literally trying to figure out, okay, how do we not plagiarize each other? Because we're all saying the same things. But I know you laid out your reasoning in your piece, but for those who haven't read it quite yet, which way would you lean when it comes to the franchise tag either being used for Daniel Jones or Alec Pierce?
Yeah, I think a lot of this comes down to relationships. I know you and I think would probably agree that from talking to Daniel Jones, talking to Shane Steichen, Chris Ballard, it's really clear that even in 1 year in Indianapolis, Daniel Jones has created some really tight relationships. Really feels like a longtime member of this team in many ways. He's very close with Shane Steichen, and I think if you're Chris and Shane, and you really feel like in your heart of hearts that relationship from the conversations that you've had with Daniel and his representation in the offseason, if you feel like even if someone else comes in with a competitive offer that you feel like you can hold on to him without question, then I think you probably go and tag Alec Pierce. But ultimately what it comes down to, this team is not going to make the playoffs without a competent quarterback, and there just are not a whole lot of options. It's kind of amazing to think about the fact that Daniel Jones, coming off an Achilles injury, is still the top quarterback in the market. I think ESPN ranked him as one of the top 5 free agents out there, and then there's just such a steep drop-off at quarterback. So you cannot afford to lose him this offseason. So if it takes franchise tagging him, then I think that's the move you have to make, and you just have to roll the dice with Alec Pierce in free agency. But I think the best-case scenario is betting on the ability to work something out with Daniel that is good for both sides, and tagging Alex so you can ensure that you hang on to him.
Nathan, did I see you were up at Shane Steichen's speaking engagement at, was it Trine?
Yeah, Trine on Saturday evening. You're
Old
correct.
Tri-West, right? Up north?
Yep. Angola, just a couple miles from Michigan.
A, how was that? B, what do you know, like, why Steichen was there per se?
So I asked him about that when I was there. It sounded like it was kind of like a friend of a friend. They were looking for, they have this annual scholarship gala where they try to raise money to hand out scholarships for students every year and have a keynote speaker. And it sounded like a close friend of his had connections to the university, and they asked him to do it a couple months ago, and he did know that. I think when he was asked at the time, the team was still flying high, but they told him that it was a week after the Super Bowl, so he knew without question that he would be free and able to do it. I mentioned to him that next year, 365 days from them, he probably hoped that he would be on a football field because, of course, the Super Bowl is going to be played next year on Valentine's Day. So we'll see what comes of that. But it was great to talk to him. First time since the day after the season that I'd gotten a chance to speak with him. The one thing that I asked him that I didn't get a great answer on was, one of the things that he mentioned in his end of season press conferences was the need to really go back and digest the film of the last 7 weeks to try to get down to the heart of what happened and why that team collapsed and what made the difference in some of those close games, rather than just being kind of in the heat of the moment. And he said he was still going through that process, so didn't have a great answer on that. But otherwise, he said he was happy that some of his coordinators got opportunities to interview elsewhere for some elevated positions, though ultimately happy as well that they will be coming back. And those were two of the big things that we got into.
Again, that's the voice of Nathan Brown, covers the Colts alongside Joel Erickson for the Indianapolis Star. Nathan, do you think Nick Cross is in a Colts uniform in 2026?
I think that's one where I think you would love to have Nick back. I think he had some really great moments, particularly this past season, but he's just not a guy I think you can afford to overpay when you are, when you look at the salary cap where the Colts are now. I think some of the sites online have them somewhere around $35 million in cap space, and you've got to find probably close to that amount to pay for Daniel Jones. You've got to find money to pay for Alec Pierce. You've got to go out and either trade for or sign an impactful edge rusher. And I just don't know that, if you are Chris Ballard, that you can afford to, put a high price on someone who plays that safety position. I think that'd be a great, it probably comes down to what someone else in the market is willing to pay for him. And if someone else is willing to give him a top dollar deal, I think if you're the Colts, you probably have to let him walk and try to replace that in free agency or look and see if you can scoop someone else to fill in that role in the draft.
Again, we're talking to Nathan Brown, my favorite Colts Indy Star reporter. Joey Erickson, a close second. Nathan, you could tell him I said that, and then when I talk to him, I'll say the opposite. So
Sure.
I'm
you got Kevin Bowen sitting over here too, right?
He said Indy Star. Indy Star.
Okay.
Indy Star.
Right.
Me and KB are like brothers, man. I told him, he's growing the hair out. We grow hair. Indy. He's got the afro going pretty soon. So we brothers. But
some cornrows or dreads.
There you go.
Couple days.
But Nathan, on a more serious note, when we get a chance to talk to Chris Ballard sometime at this point next week, what are some of the bigger questions, maybe non-draft related, that you will have for him now that we're a few months removed from his end-of-season press conference?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that I want to know is if they feel like they are looking to make a big splash when they're looking at that other defensive end position. They might not say this outright, but we can kind of read between the lines at times. Do they see themselves wanting to go out and, make a trade for Max Crosby? Do they, see themselves in the running to sign a little bit younger guy like Jalen Phillips from the Eagles, who's a free agent? I know everyone loves to link the Colts and Trey Hendrickson from the Bengals, who, I think there's maybe some line of thought out there that he could get franchise tagged for a second year. I don't know if that ends up happening, if those two sides go their separate ways, or if he still ends up on the Bengals. Is he someone even nearing 30? I think that they see as a viable option there. I know right around that 30-year-old range, especially for a guy who's had some injury concerns over these last couple of years. I don't know if that's the right type of guy to go all in on when you really need someone that you can trust to have a big impact this year, but. I'd be really curious to know, just how aggressive and how big a fix they feel like they need to make in that spot.
Nathan, we talk about the Colts all the time, and obviously you write about it all the time, and it doesn't feel like there's a lot of secrets. But is there anything low-key that the Colts are working on this offseason that we don't talk enough about?
There's nothing major on my radar. I know that I think it might come down to, maybe who they make, who they might sign for that defensive end position. I don't know that any of us really had, say them signing Sauce Gardner on our radar at the trade deadline when they made that big deal, with 2 first-round picks and throwing A.D. Mitchell into the mix to go and get him. So they tend to be a team that's a little bit tough to parse out on just what direction or what big things they have cooking there. But as we've seen Chris get a little bit more aggressive, I guess you would say, over the last year plus in free agency and at the trade deadline, I wouldn't be surprised to see them go out and try to make a splash, especially to fill some of those holes that they have there on defense.
Always good to talk to you, man. Thanks so much for checking in this morning. We appreciate that. And now we know that you're James Boyd's favorites over there. So there you go.
Thanks for having me.
All right, buddy. He's very low-key about that.
Hey, man, I appreciate all the guys I work with. They're all my favorites.
Yeah.
It's like you all with your kids. You can't pick a favorite kid, right? So my parents, when I go home, I'm their favorite kid.
Well,
but,
there's
no. Some days
you can have it's a day-to-day thing sometimes. I mean, you love them both the same, but there are days you're less happy with one than the other.
Well,
That's
I told
all.
you if I have more than 2 in the future, I'm definitely ranking them. If we get 3, we got to rank them.
Oh, yeah, he's got a mock draft, a big board. He's got daily big boards here.
Exactly.
Speaking of that, it's the Daniel Jeremiah NFL Combine again next week. I want to say last year, Steichen and Ballard talked on Tuesday, which would be next week. So we'll see. Tuesday, Wednesday next week, I believe, are the 2 days for head coaches and GMs. But did you guys see Daniel Jeremiah's mock draft by chance?
I haven't seen the latest
didn't take a look
one,
at
no.
it because I saw that it was maybe a first-round mock, and I wasn't sure if he had chosen the teams with the second-round pick, so I didn't look at it myself.
Again, maybe not as much from a Colts relevance in terms of the actual pick, but he did have 7 edge rushers in round 1. That to me is think about it. That's about a quarter of the picks.
Yeah.
That's a big number for the pass rush position. So it does sound like some of the early chatter, and I believe Mark can confirm this when he comes back. I believe next Wednesday we'll have Dane Brugler, James, your colleague, on with us live.
Best in the biz.
At the Combine. And it seems like some of the early chatter in the 2026 draft class is strong depth at edge rusher, which is not something you usually say, and it would be very beneficial, I think, to the Colts, considering they don't pick until number 47 overall. So, yeah, 7 edge rushers in the first round. He had Reuben Bain. Certainly Indiana fans remember him from the national title. He had Reuben Bain going 4 overall to the Titans. Also of note, Jeremiah Love going to the Chiefs. I keep on forgetting the Chiefs have a top 10 pick. Jeremiah Love with Patrick Mahomes.
And Lord knows they have been looking for a running back in Kansas City. So,
and shout out to Westfield's Dylan Thieneman. He had him, the Oregon safety, former Purdue safety, going 18 overall to the Vikings. So that's, I think, the highest I've seen Thieneman here as a local kid.
I like that. I'll ask you guys the same question. Is there any move that we haven't been talking about that the Colts are working on?
well, I'd probably go with Charvarius Ward. I don't know if it's working on, but you have to work to a conclusion. Will he be playing football for you in 2026? And if not, if he chooses to retire due to his repeated concussions, that changes, I think, a lot of things for your offseason, because suddenly you have another void you have to fill at cornerback because he is one of your starters. And then, you know, is that a draft need you have to address? Is that a free agency need? And then structurally, when it comes to his contract, if he walks away from the game, what does that look like? How does that help or hurt your cap situation and things like that? Every situation when a player retires before their deal is up is different. And people keep asking me about it. Like, hey, if he walks away, what would that do to the Colts salary cap situation? It's very unique. That's the only way I can put it right now. But I do want to know, will he play football again in 2026? And have you come to that answer yet? And that'll be certainly one of the questions that I or someone else will ask Chris Ballard here in about a week or so.
Kevin, I'll ask you this. I know, obviously, edge, defensive line, we talk about that. But where that at linebacker right now?
Yeah, you know, Jermaine Pratt is a free agent, so let's start there. That's the one order of business. And then Zaire Franklin. I believe the cap hit for Franklin, he's under contract for a couple more years. I think it's like $8 million, maybe $6 million, I want to say, coming up, something along those lines. It might be a little north of that now that I say it out loud. But
nonetheless, I could listen to conversations of you bring back neither, you bring back both, or you only bring back one. I personally think you have to upgrade at least one spot at linebacker. I don't know if you're in a state where you can upgrade both financially. Now, again, Chris Ballard has hit on linebackers in the draft extraordinarily well. Probably that and offensive line, probably the two position groups he's hit on the best when it comes to draft picks. But that was not the Lou Anarumo defense. So there's really no one kind of young waiting in the wings there. So I would. Part of me thinks I get the disdain for Franklin is high, and I think a lot of it is really how he chirps off the field, frankly. Him and Jermaine Pratt as a player. Pratt maybe was slightly better this season. I don't know if I put too much stock into that there, but I think you are you're bringing one of those two back. Again, Pratt is a free agent, and then you're going out and you're trying to upgrade.
All right, we'll talk more Colts. Get some of your feedback at 239-1070 coming up over the course of the remaining minutes of the show. In the meantime, Kev, you ready to check it down?
Let's do it.
The Morning Checkdown, brought to you by the Barbasol Horizon League Basketball Championships. March starts here. The Barbasol Horizon League Basketball Championships with NCAA tournament bids on the line. March 8th through 10th. Tickets and more at horizonleague.com/Indy.
Starting college basketball, Kevin, I'll ask you this. I knew that Michigan was really good. There's a reason they were ranked number one. I thought going into that game last night at Mackey, I thought Purdue had a puncher's chance, and I thought it would be a really good basketball game. And, man, I'm not even mad at Purdue. I just thought Michigan was tremendous last night and clearly the best team in the country right now.
Yeah, the kids would say they're a wagon, right? Isn't that what the young kids would say of that? I mean, if you had told me before the start of the night Michigan shoots 57% from three, Purdue shoots 31%, I would have said, oh my gosh, how early did the walk-ons get in the game? So, yeah, it was quite impressive. Yeah, I walk away thoroughly impressed with Michigan. But, for Purdue, I mean, that's 3 home losses this season. I don't think you can ignore that. They tried to at times, I think, downsize last night, and I just don't know if they've got the firepower when they do that. This gets in a little bit into the Miles Colvin, Cam Heide situation. They went out and they got Liam Murphy in the transfer portal, and we've barely even heard from him. So, that's probably a bigger question come March and April. But last night, to me, A, Purdue struggled with the length big time, and B, my biggest takeaway is Michigan's the best team in college basketball, and I don't think there's any debate.
Yeah, Michigan wins it 91-80. I'll tell you who was impressed is Matt Painter.
They set the tone. Like that to me is the game right there. The way they set the tone. We had to be better shot makers. It just seemed like, and I don't know statistically, when they got offensive rebounds, they made us pay. When we got offensive rebounds, at times we made them pay in the second half. And it's different, right? You're down 10 to 20 points in the second half. And so you're trying to climb back in there. When you put yourself in that kind of hole, like you have to have more things go your way. You got to make more shots. You got to make more plays.
Well, Purdue will get another chance coming up on Friday night against Indiana, James. Last time we saw Indiana, they were playing your team.
Yeah, and my team took care of business at home, but the last time we saw Indiana and Purdue, Indiana got the last laugh. So a big bounce back opportunity for Purdue. And then on the flip side, a chance for IU to continue building that NCAA tournament resume.
All right. Later on tonight, Butler plays at Georgetown, 6:30 tip, 6 o'clock airtime, right here at 93.5, 107.5 The Fan. You can watch it on television at Fox Sports 1. And Kevin, it looks like we might see Finley Bizjack tonight.
That's the unknown. I know he was close to playing, and they felt like maybe he was going to play. Coming up, I guess it would have been Sunday night against Seton Hall there, but without him, they are in dire need. So yes, 6.5-point underdog against a Georgetown team that beat them inside of Hinkle with that ugly second half for Butler a few weeks back. So 6:30 FS1 tonight.
All right. Yesterday, Rick Carlisle meeting with the media as the Pacers get ready to go back and play following the All-Star break. They'll have back-to-back games tomorrow night and Friday night in Washington against the Wizards. And when asked about when we might see Zubats or Toppin again soon, Rick said, it'll be a while. They're progressing slowly but steadily. What's that mean? Translate that for me, James.
I mean, exactly what he said. I think the bigger translation would be, what does that mean for the league? How do they interpret that? And again, the Pacers are under a microscope now. how do you proceed with player participation going forward to ensure you get the best pick, but also making sure Herb Simon isn't forking over hundreds of thousands of dollars.
All right. Great night in high school basketball around here last night. Christmas Addicts, we'll start there. Deshaun Hall, have you watched him play at all?
I have not seen him play.
He dropped 52 in an 81-62 win over former team Henley. Yeah. Playing against his former team Henley last night, but 52 points. Man, that's impressive. Also, Brebeuf has won 6 games in a row. They beat Heritage Christian 76-49. Roncalli 69, Cecina 52. Pike, a big win over Lawrence Central 80-50. Westfield beat University. Triton Central got another win. They're 17th of the year. They beat Monrovia 45-34. We've got a gold medal for the United States this morning. In the sport of women's slalom, Michaela Schifrin gets her 3rd gold medal for her career. That's more than any other alpine skier in American history. She had been shut out of the medals the last Olympics, but now, over the course of several, she has racked up 3 gold medals. She gets the win this morning. There later on today in hockey, the United States will take on Sweden. That one comes your way at 3:10. Canada takes on Czechia beginning at 10:40 today. So as expected, I don't know about you guys. I've enjoyed having Olympic sports on all day long and all night long on the TV. Just even if it's in the background, sometimes I'm really paying close attention. Sometimes it's just on, but I kind of dig that.
The best feeling is having sports on at 9 a.m. in the morning. We talked about this last time I was here, Kevin.
Australian Open, baby.
Yep, the final. And that's the best thing in the world is when there's sports right when you wake up.
Coffee sports, right?
That's exactly right.
United States men also won a silver medal today in the men's team sprint free final in cross-country skiing. So those are your medal updates for today and what's happening at the Olympics. And Kevin, I know you wanted to also point out another big win for another college basketball team.
Undefeated Mayo, Ohio. The Red Hawks continue 26-0. They won at UMass last night. Some people thought this was going to be their most difficult regular season game the rest of the way. So they've got 5 more to go. Pete Suter, the Carmel product, had 23 to lead Travis Steele and company, so they inch closer to a undefeated regular season.
James, one other thing, a couple things actually in the National Football League. Wide receiver news. Mike Evans says he's coming back for another year with Tampa Bay. Robert Woods is going to retire. He's going to go back and sign a one-day contract with the Rams and call it a career.
Very underrated receiver. I thought he was very good for a few seasons there with the Rams, and I believe he won a Super Bowl with them as well.
All right. Coming up in a moment, we'll talk more about the day ahead and the week ahead in sports as we continue at 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
listening to the Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
No half-hearted effort from Caleb Zuber, who came in here in relief today and just on the spot came in, took over, and is running this show like a champ today. Good job out of you.
Never going to turn down an opportunity to come in here. Now, if I was a little bit of a heavier sleeper, then I would have missed that opportunity. But we woke up. We're here. Having fun. Good to be here.
Caleb, are you a baseball fan at all?
I am.
Who's your team?
Tigers.
Tigers? All right. Because
Kevin, I'm a bigger Tigers fan than you.
Kevin's probably a bigger Reds fan than I. I'll admit that right there. But I am a Reds fan. That was my first Major League Baseball game. I do love that ballpark too. We need a show trip to go see the Reds, don't we?
Hey, you buying? I'm going.
Amen to that.
Show budget.
Sign off on what James Boyd just said. Are we
sure
getting a
can
Tiger quiz tomorrow? Is James Boyd being tasked with 10 Tiger-related questions?
I like this.
I think so.
This has got to be something you guys do.
can come up with.
Who's your
quiz
favorite
now.
Tiger of all time?
I will. You know, I like the favorite Tiger of all time. I might be Tigger, but you know, I'll shout out my guy.
Hard to argue, to be fair.
You know, Matt Taylor with his trivia nights. My little trivia to the 107.5 listeners.
I like this. This has got to be something that happens. Jeff,
All right. Well, hey, lock it in, baby. I'm coming in with a quiz tomorrow.
For those that missed it,
a Tiger Woods quiz.
About an hour ago during the break, Jeff Rickard and James
I've been
Boyd,
shamed, apparently.
Please vet me on this. He looked at me and said, low key, I am
low key is the part that gets
as
me.
big of a Tiger Woods fan as you. And that is a direct quote. That is not an indirect quote. That is not a paraphrasing of a quote. That is a direct quote. And to say that I took offense to it.
Wow. I didn't realize I thought I was going to be like joining your team there for a second.
Oh,
but I also
Jeff,
told
you know how territorial that man is about Tiger.
I said top 3 dumbest statements in the history of the show. It might be higher than that.
I don't know. Is it right there with Dick's Sporting Goods or without the Sporting Goods? I don't know.
I just like how Jeff is just,
I don't know what
he's just sinking his teeth into this and he's not letting go.
Well,
I think he's down for trivia tomorrow.
I told Kevin during the break, like now I respect the heck out of this, Kevin. You've got all of your Sports Illustrated still, correct? Have you figured out where to store all of them?
Yes, they've made it through the basement flood.
Okay, that's fantastic. I only keep select Sports Illustrated covers.
Okay.
I probably have
The
about a
swimsuit
dozen.
edition.
No swimsuit editions. That was when I was
Christine,
younger,
if
maybe
you want to
when I was
black
in
his
high
eyes,
school.
hey.
No, but I've got probably a dozen that I've preserved, right?
Okay.
They are John Elway during an MVP year, a couple of Bronco covers. There's one Avalanche, and I probably got 4 or 5 Tiger covers.
So your 4 or 5 Tiger covers means that you're on the same level of fandom as this guy.
I don't.
And you know how insane
I don't
he is.
keep a ton. I don't keep a ton of stuff at home. I don't.
Yeah, I don't know. But Jeff, I understand you're a big fan, but this guy literally probably ranks people in his family behind Tiger Woods.
He can actually name girlfriends of Tiger Woods, right?
Okay, we asked earlier. We know obviously the first major, 97 Masters, quite well documented, of course. I asked you the second major.
I thought it was U.S. Open. You said it was
bit
PGA.
of a Mark Sanchez butt fumble through that answer.
I know it was that bad.
Do we want to go 3rd, 4th, and 5th major?
No, we don't want to do that because you might get some more Mark Sanchez incidents.
All in one calendar year.
The Tiger Slam, which I still say is a slam.
Can we name any of those courses? Name any of the pertinent people involved in those
Jeff,
majors?
don't do it, brother.
Anything?
I will tell you one of the bigger disappointments of me is the one that got away at the PGA with Bob May. That bummed me out.
Tiger won that. Tiger won that.
The Tiger, he beat Bob May? I thought Bob May got it.
Don't do it.
We gotta save some of these questions for tomorrow,
It's
man.
so fun to get him going, though, man.
Oh, my gosh.
It is a joy to get you going sometimes.
For the radio audience, Kevin had his head in his hands.
Lord have mercy. Anyways, all right, let's get back to the topics at hand.
I'm just disappointed.
Come on.
We got
Give
the
it
fist
up.
bump. Don't do
Give
it.
it up.
This is beef.
This
is
cry.
real beef.
He's gonna cry over
No,
here.
you can't do this. But jokes aside, I was looking at. We just released it today. The Athletic put out, I believe, their top 150 free agents on the market, and there are 3 Colts ranked in the top 20.
You guys are working hard over there.
Well, I would say we, but I don't speak French. They are working hard. I just do whatever's required. They sent us a list of things we got to hit, Caleb, and I was like, all right, I'll make sure to get this in on the day of. But
so is that a Braden Smith?
Braden Smith, who is still, I think the perception of Braden Smith here in Indianapolis, at least I'm guilty of it, might be different than it is nationally or league-wide, because he is still viewed as a very good player who, and by all accounts, based off of where he's ranked in our metrics and conversations I've had, at least with other people on different beats, he's viewed as a player that could be plug and play for a number of teams that are looking for right tackle help. And I think here I view him as kind of like someone who's declining, but still a very good player and someone who, quite frankly, if he's not your right tackle next year, that is something I think you have to kind of grow through into the future, because he's been such a staple of your franchise. He's been here since 2018.
Yeah, I think it's fine for the NFL world to view him in that light. You use the word declining. The only real knock to me is just injuries.
And
I don't think his play on the field is declining.
To be clear, that's what I mean by the declining. It's just availability.
Yeah.
Not necessarily he's a bad player or anything like that.
And if you want to get technical, over the last 2 years, of course, he had the OCD that ended his, whatever that was, 24 season.
Yeah.
Last year, it was really just the concussion with about a month to go in the season.
Yeah, concussion and neck injury. But the reason why I say declining is because let's not forget that in the 2023 season, he was playing through the knee injury towards the end,
right.
Wasn't able to finish the year. And so I wonder again, I think this past year he might have had some days off with that knee. Like, how is that for the future?
Yeah. If I were a team out there and I had a need at tackle and I felt like we were one piece away, Braden Smith would make a ton of sense.
Yes.
The Colts, again, this is a credit to Chris Ballard. I said it last segment, linebacker, he is drafted extraordinarily well. And I'd argue offensive line could also be in that category. Are you a little bit maybe premature in handing Jalen Travis starting right tackle keys of the future? Maybe, but, unfortunately, and certainly parents, and Jeff can probably relate to this, you got to hand the keys over at some point. And with how the salary cap is wired and where the Colts' needs are, I just think right now is a point in time with that. James, I don't know if you have that list in front of you. Do they do like projected contracts? Can you imagine?
I've
they
got
don't
one
have
in front of me.
projected contracts, but
it's $13 million versus $1 million
for Braden Smith.
Yeah.
So there you go. Again, this is what we're getting into. Quarterback right now, Riley Leonard is making 10 times less than Anthony Richardson.
Yeah.
These are parts of the exercises that all these NFL teams have to do. So, yeah, that makes sense that Braden Smith is viewed in that light. I just think here you've got some others that are above him, and it's a credit to having Jalen Travis in place. Like linebacker, for example, or, safety with Nick Cross. There's no Jalen Travis as a rookie offensive tackle you feel somewhat comfortable with. There's nobody that exists at those other positions.
Give me your projected starting 5 on that offensive line next year then.
Well, the 4 that returned from last year, Bernard, going left from right, Bernard Ryman, Quentin Nelson, Taylor Bornolini, Matt Gonzalez, and then Jalen Travis at right tackle. I don't think there's a whole lot of indecision there.
There's just too much money to be saved at this point in time, right?
Yeah, and you need a lot of defensive help, particularly in the front there. And there are a few other positions that maybe we can get more into this tomorrow. Of like, to me, defensive end and linebacker is where the needs list starts here this offseason. But if you're going to play this Michael Pittman Jr.'s gone game, wideout now moves up that list, I would say, pretty significantly. If Charvarius Ward is going to retire, and even if he doesn't, some might say corner deserves to be higher on that list. And then safety with Nick Cross, which, again, I don't know if Nick Cross will break the bank from a pure numerical standpoint. Like, some might see his contract, let's call it $7 million. And some might say, well, that's not that much money when you look at the cap. But if you look at how NFL teams build their rosters, you very rarely see in present day 2 safeties making the amount of money that Cam Bynum and Nick Cross would make. You see teams with great safeties, but usually it's a great safety and a day 3 pick at safety. So just from again, putting the money pieces together, giving 2 safeties, Cross's case, it'd be what, 7 or 8 million, Bynum's case, 15 million. That's a lot of money at that position.
Well, just last quick thing. I know we got to hit the break. We have Nick Cross ranked as our number 68 overall free agent and a contract projection as 3 years, $21 million.
So there's 7, right? 7
For that number, I can hear both sides of it.
Is Quiddy Pay on the list? I asked that in all seriousness.
Give me a second to check when we go to break.
All right, we'll do that. We'll check in on Quiddy Pay in a moment as we continue the Fan Morning Show. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
listening to the Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
What do you think it looks like when Purdue plays Indiana on Friday night? Do they just take everything out on Indiana to get a little revenge for that loss and then bouncing back from Michigan? Do they just unload on the Hoosiers?
Yeah, I am very curious what Friday night will look like. I mean, just based off, you guys all watched last night. I mean, the emotion of everything goes into playing the number one team. First time the number one team have been inside of Mackey in, 18 years. And I don't know if you guys watched the start. I thought Peacock did a great job of just like leading into the game. They showed Purdue running out of the tunnel, and you hear the, whose house, our house, and that back and forth. I mean, that was built up to be one of the games of the year in college basketball. Now, I think we all want to sit here and say, like, hey, it's your rival. They beat you earlier this year. You better show up. Yes, but Purdue has lost 3 games at home this year. I don't want to act like it's just like a bulletproof Purdue's going to win by 20 on Friday night here. And then for Indiana, I think they have some questions, and specifically with Nick Dorn right now. Has he just kind of come back to earth a little bit here? He was a very key element to them beating Purdue in that first matchup there.
He shot the lights out.
Yeah, and so, does that translate on the road? We've seen teams shoot it well inside of Mackey this season. We don't always do. So I'm very, very curious. I think you're hearing, I don't really know what we're going to see. I thought Indiana, they really controlled long stretches of that game in Bloomington.
They did, and I'm at the point now where I just expect Lamar Wilkerson to show up and to give you a chance to be in the fight, and it's wondering then who's going to be beside him, who's going to join the fight with him, who's going to throw a couple punches.
Which Dorn was that guy
exactly
in the first matchup.
Because I felt like when I watched Indiana against Illinois, my alma mater, it was Lamar Wilkerson at times playing like 1-on-5. Like he was getting buckets, but I was sitting at home fine with the fact of, okay, well, let him go for 30 if he wants to. And he's very well capable of doing this. Him go for 40 a couple times. But who else can help, just put pressure on the opposing defense and keep you within striking distance? Because one thing we've seen is that throughout this year, Purdue at the end of games doesn't always execute to the best of their ability. And they have won some close games this year. I don't want to completely dismiss that. But there have been other instances of, okay, the rim gets a little bit tighter at the end of the game, and can you, buckle down, do what you're supposed to do to close out a victory?
And one reminder by that first meeting, I didn't feel like Purdue played to the size advantage as much as opponents have done to Indiana this season.
No.
Like on paper, Purdue has this advantage in the front court, whatever, points in the paint, rebounds, however you want to define it. And I actually thought Indiana held their own, which is their weakness. So does that show up a little bit more? Friday night, 8 o'clock, Fox, I believe, for that one.
Looking forward to that. One thing from last night that we haven't talked about, and it didn't really impact the game tremendously, but I thought we saw some good minutes from Omer Meyer last night.
Yeah,
off the bench for Purdue. I thought he played pretty well. He came in, made a couple of shots,
early, trying to keep
did
him
some
in
stuff.
It. Again, I think Purdue's depth is fine, but last night I think the bigger issues were, again, finishing through length early on, and Braden Smith had a scoreless first half. If you're going to be a first-team All-American, you can't have that. And I get that he played really well in the second half and scored a ton, but, the game got away from Purdue at half. No one thought Purdue was going to win the game when they were down, whatever they were, 16.5.
It was 20 at one point. All of a sudden, just boom. Hey, you pointed this out, and I got a little more detail during the break. Kansas City Chiefs have restructured Patrick Mahomes' contract. And that gives them a bunch more salary cap space ahead of the 2026 season. It will convert $54.5 million of Mahomes' 2026 salary into a signing bonus and then lowers the star quarterback's cap number to $34.65 million. That's a lot of salary cap in one move right there, James.
That is, and you see teams do this. The Colts don't necessarily do that a lot, but on a much lower scale. When I talk about restructuring contracts, this is the case for Mahomes because he's going to get all of his money. But will we see the Colts do that with Michael Pittman Jr. to potentially keep him on the roster? Because I think that he's still a good player at the right price, just not at the price that he's owed in 2026 as of right now. I think it's, $29 million cap hit? There's no way they will pay that kind of money for him. Really, there's only probably about 5 receivers in the world who's getting that kind of money on an annual basis. So I know you asked before the break, Kevin, about Kwity Paye. Where is he at on our 150 rankings of free agents. He's 102, and his projected contract is 4 years, $50 million. I don't know if I would give him that. First of all, I think the 4-year deal for a defensive end is too long. But even just that price point, that's about what, $12.5 million?
I mean, he made just over 13 last year, and I didn't think sniffed living up to that dollar figure.
How'd you like to be ranked the 102nd free agent on the market and be in line for that contract?
Yeah, we'll see how these are all projections. We'll see how that plays out because, here's another one for Daniel Jones, 2 years, $88 million. I don't think I'm giving him $44 million a year. But granted, it's a shorter contract, so would that be more enticing? I don't know. We'll figure it out here in a couple of weeks and months.
On Jones, I am probably more in the 2-year versus 3-year camp.
I agree.
If you want to debate those two. I look at it and say, all right, 2 years, you get him the full year post-Achilles, and then that covers your first-round draft picks that you don't have.
Yeah.
So then if you need to do the hard reset.
If you want to pivot,
boom,
that makes sense. Yeah.
You can do that.
Yeah, it's crazy to be a capologist in either the NFL, the NBA these days. Just all the things you have to know, the intricacies to try and rework these things all the time continuously.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's a big job. And so when we talk about the combine, a lot of the adjacent news that happens there isn't just about, draft prospects. It's when agents and GMs and the who's all get together and kind of decide these things before they are able to have that official window open up for free agency.
I'm not going to lie. The NBA cap situation confuses the freaking hell out of me. Like, every time I hear bird rights, I literally think of Big Bird.
Second apron.
Yeah, no, it is very
Second
confusing.
apron, I think of my mom making cookies.
Yeah. No,
I am dead serious. I have no idea what they mean.
This is why
mid-level exceptions.
Yeah, I think Tony East is honestly a genius when it comes to that. He could probably work for an NBA team because he knows this stuff down to the T. And when I had to cover the Pacers full time, he probably should have got part of my check because I was texting him pretty much every time there was a deal signed. Like, what does this mean? How does that work? And yeah, I will say in the world that I'm in now with the Colts, I am very grateful that the NFL, contract rules, even the tag rules we explained earlier, are still a lot simpler than what we had in the past.
Caleb, you're going to be the unofficial capologist for the Fan Morning Show?
If that's my role going forward, I can do that.
Well, get your boy a max contract. I think I'm due.
Get that quitty pay money.
There's a line, James.
Hey, I'll take that quitty pay money.
There's
for
a
sure.
line. All right. I hope you all have a terrific day. Remember, we got Butler basketball after everybody's done talking today. 6 o'clock airtime, 6:30 tip time. Got Jake Query at noon, JMB at 3. We'll see you guys bright and early tomorrow morning at 7.